All right, we get things rolling on the Krug Show. Big night tonight for sure. As, what can you say? What can you say about that? It leaves you speechless. It really does. Anthony DeSclafani, 8 shutout innings. And Doval comes on and finishes out the 9th. And the Giants get a big win. All right, let's get it rolling, Giants fan. Oh, no, we're coming on after Warriors, Lakers. DeSclafani did get a nice win. Giants 2-0 over the Astros. But welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig in a Pickle. Check out Pig in a Pickle in Emeryville or Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., Wednesday through Sunday. They are open in Emeryville, inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace. Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. But, of course, we're talking about Warriors, Lakers. And, guys, Game 1 goes to the Lakers, 117-112. Golden State was the more energetic team down the stretch. They had, like a 14-0 run late. But Sacramento. But Los Angeles gets the last couple buckets, and they pull out the 117-112 victory. The Warriors, guys, in literally a name, could not stop Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis was phenomenal. 30 points, 23 rebounds, 19 on the defensive end of the floor, 5 assists, 4 block shots, and they got 19 off the bench from Schroeder. The King had 22, 11, and 4, 19 for D'Lo, 10 for Reeves. And the Warriors wind up losing this game at home, 117-112. Lakers go up 1-0. They take over home court advantage in the series. Still a long way to go. I may have to amend my Warriors in 5 at this point. It's not looking good. How you guys doing? By the way, welcome tonight on the show. Frank Red in the top box. Of course, you know Frank. Bottom box, the great Carl Foster. And then Dan Coach Emilio joining us from a brand new 55 and over community.
Not 55.
Not 55?
No.
Danny's living in the dorms at ASU, and his roommate Sheila is going to be out for the next 45 minutes. So we got to get this show in. Cyrus will join us in a bit from his locked on perch, and no baller tonight. But and JD will maybe join us as well if we can stick it out this long. I don't know if I got more than a couple hours. I had to drive my wife and daughter to the airport this morning. I think of it as last night because it was so long ago. They had like a 4 a.m. flight to Atlanta because my daughter's going to grad school at Emory. So they're off, but I mean, that has interrupted the Krug rhythms. And if I can make it through this live stream tonight, I mean, I was seriously dozing in the middle of this game. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then once you're up, it's like I can't go back to bed. It's like, I'm up. I've already showered and I've driven around. I'm going to get back in bed after I drove them to the airport. So I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning, operating today on exactly 2 hours of sleep. So if you see me in the middle of the live stream, it's not that Dan has gone to DeSclafani stats. It's that I have no energy. But guys, what do you think of this one? I mean, and is this a bad omen for this series? Is it? We all kind of thought that Game 1 would probably favor the Lakers because of the rest, but I thought the Warriors were the more energetic team down the stretch. They just could not quite get it done. And then Steph Curry gave kind of Jordan Poole a really dirty look, or just kind of like you got to be kidding me, when Jordan took that shot at the end that probably Steph should have taken. What was your guys' takeaways on this one? Big win for the Lakers, clearly.
Anybody?
Why don't we direct it? We'll start with Carl, since Carl hasn't been here as much recently. Carl, what'd you think? How big of a loss is this for Golden State? How big of a win is this for the Lakers? Give me what you got out of tonight.
There's 3 things, Larry. Number one,
you had a chance to see the donut that the Warriors are playing with, which is they have not been able to find a way against the Laker front line when Anthony Davis is playing and playing well to be able to get to the basket very often. They really only have one guy on their roster who really that is his real gift, and that's Jonathan Kuminga, who can really get to the basket and really attack it, somebody in the front court. Number two, the lack of a mid range in their post players, because you've got Anthony Davis in drop coverage, is really going to be a very big piece of this series because it gives the Lakers cornerbacks and safeties. Oh, I mean, their guards and their wings, because they play like cornerbacks and safeties because of how much they hold and grab and chuck. It gives them a chance to really try to do as much as they can to frustrate the Warriors' perimeter attack. And you could see tonight the Warriors were Steph and Clay were 19 for 49 from the floor. Jordan Poole was actually pretty effective at 7 for 15. But even though they had three guys with 6 threes, they didn't get a lot of high quality looks from inside of 17 feet. They're going to need a lot more production out of Andrew Wiggins offensively, who did a great job late in the game going to the offensive boards, but they're going to need him to be a little bit more efficient from the three-point line and maybe attack the basket. And at the end of the day, when you ask what's happening with the loss in a game one is connected to game 3, meaning the Warriors know they have to win game 2. That's not even a question. It's not a series if they don't win game 2. If they lose 2 at home, this could be a very quick series. But if they win game 2, then the premise becomes now we need to win game 3 so that we put the weight and the focus back on the Lakers to have to perform in game 4.
What'd you think, Red?
The game actually looked pretty much like I thought it would look. The Lakers focused and game plan was to inflict their physical will on the Golden State Warriors. They're a lot bigger, and their big guys are actually athletic. So they were preparing for the drivers when they came to the basket. AD is one of the top defensive players in the league. What was really surprising to me was how young and how spry Anthony Davis looked. He wasn't limping around. He wasn't grabbing his ankle. He was out there dominating. I think Kerr probably took too much time to go to a traditional NBA offense, which is high pick and roll with the ball in Curry's hand. They mentioned that a little bit on the broadcast. But you had to do that because when Steph could see the action in front of him as opposed to coming off picks where he has his body turned, he was able to get better shots. And he was able to create some stuff for other people. So I think you're probably going to see that more. I like the Warriors' defensive strategy. They didn't always execute it. They played 2 types of zones. They played a John Chaney kind of slough man-to-man zone where they just kind of covered people in areas. And then late in the game, they played their traditional zone where they locked in a little bit and actually did a pretty good job. So first time in a long time I saw Draymond Green completely be a non-factor. That was surprising. He didn't really benefit the Warriors in any aspect of the game. He played hard and tough, but he was just overwhelmed tonight. And I think you'll see a different Draymond in game 2.
Danny, what jumped out to you?
A couple things. Obviously, Anthony Davis, figured he would be a problem going in. He was a problem with them in the 3 or 4 games they played him this year. The Warriors really don't have a great answer. I mean, Looney was great against Sabonis, but Davis is so much more athletic around the basket. He boxes out better. He gets rebounds. And I think that's could be an issue. I do think this is going to go 7. And I think at the 7th game, I think at home, I think the Warriors will be fresher because Anthony Davis is going to play 45 minutes every night. And I think by the end of this series, he's going to – I mean, you saw him in fourth quarter. He was just like bending over, holding his knees. He was gassed, and he was taking breaks on offense. Warriors need to run at him. And I think the other thing that is game 1 is Warriors have lost many game 1s in series. It's a feeling out. Game 1 is you kind of feel each other out. There'll be adjustments made. I expect Kerr to come back game 2 with different, looks. And, Jermichael Green had hit 2 threes earlier, and then we never saw him again. And I thought Jermichael Green would be a factor, in this series just because he's got some height. He can shoot the three. But they're going to have to figure a way to get into the paint and then distribute. They cannot go all the way to the hoop because those guys, Davis, like Carl said, he's just playing free safety back there. And he's not coming out on the, coming out to the key. He's down in the box down there to get rebounds and control the tempo down there and be a rim protector. So they're going to make him live and die by the three. Warriors got to figure a way to get it into the paint and dish it out, whether that's Gary Payton cutting from the corner and going in for a dunk or Kuminga or something. They need to have some guys that are flying at the hoop that are getting a pass, not taking the ball all the way to the hoop themselves, because he's gonna reject them, and so's Vanderbilt. So I think that's the issue. What they got to do is make that adjustment, is get down into the paint and kick it out, and hopefully they can either get a guy cutting or have a wide open three. But they got to get shooters, not Gary Payton shooting. His only three is in the corner. He can't take threes out there at the top of the key or in the wings because that's not his shot.
The thing that stood out to me, guys, is just that, I mean, LA is such a, this box score is so unique. I mean, if you really think about it, Golden State was plus 45 at the 3-point line and lose at home by 5. Plus 45 at the 3-point line. And how did that happen? Because the Lakers were 25 of 29 at the free throw line, and the Warriors shot 6 free throws all night. The Warriors were minus 20 at the free throw line. I don't know. I mean, it's when a team's got a guy like Anthony Davis in the middle. I mean, I understand that's a total deterrent to penetrating and going to the rim, but you got to draw some fouls. You got to go to the line. If the Warriors are minus 20 from the foul line, the rest of this series every night, it's going to be a quick series. They got to figure out a way to get to the foul line. To me, it's absolutely criminal that a guy like Jordan Poole, who's as fast as he is with the ball in his hands, only got one free throw. One free throw from Jordan Poole
that was on that 4-point play.
Yeah, I mean, go to the hole, draw a foul. I mean, it's to me, it's amazing, really, that they were totally unable to do that. As far as Kuminga, I would love to have seen Kuminga dusted off for this series and play a more significant role, but it seems like he's been banished based on how he played against Sacramento. And then, the comment in the chat here that jumps out at me from Eric, he says, "Admit it, Larry, the Kings wore them out." How much of that is at play? Were the Lakers were clearly the more rested team. Did, the 7-game knockdown drag out take it out of Golden State, where the Warriors got the series, but the Kings basically got their pound of flesh and made the Warriors diminish for this round? I mean, is that a reasonable thought process, or do you guys not put a lot of credence in that?
No, I don't put any credence in it for this reason, Larry. Outside of Dennis Schroeder, none of the Laker bench players played a significant role. Rudy Hachimura, who actually looked pretty good in the first half, only played 11 minutes total. He really didn't touch the floor in the second half because it was very clear that Darvin Ham decided our defense and the way that we've got to defend has to be our premier piece. And we know Dennis Schroeder is one of their best perimeter defenders. There's two things that's going to have to happen to the Warriors. Number one, there's going to be some tweaks they're going to make on the offensive side to kind of attack more in a diagonal fashion. What I mean by that is very similar. I know Red sees this a lot when you watch college games. College coaches will design offense where a guy goes into the middle of the floor and his whole job is to screen the guy who's sitting in the middle of the zone. So expect this next game to see some movement, not so much off the ball in terms of trying to set screens, but maybe setting a screen to get Anthony Davis to where now when you're attacking, Anthony Davis has to pick a side And now all of a sudden you've got him off balance, and now you maybe can get a kick out pass or catch a guy for a runner. And the other thing is, and we all know this, at some point, Kevon Looney, Draymond Green are going to have to make some shots from somewhere between 6 to 12 feet. It could be a floater. I mean, Kevon Looney actually has a pretty good jump shot from about 14, 15 feet, just so that you can get them to loosen up. Kind of like what the Warriors were kind of having to look at how they played Sabonis. You have to throw them a slightly different diet, or else you're going to find yourself in this predicament every game where you're down 20 from the free throw line. And what that does is, think about it, that slows the game down, which means the Laker players who are logging heavy minutes are getting rest when their guys are going to the free throw line. The Warriors don't want to foul. You want the game staying mobile and fresh and fluid, because then you can get more benefit out of them fatiguing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, you would think that the Warriors actually would be tired, but they didn't look like a tired team to me. Also, I thought Kerr, maybe he has more confidence, he has more trust, but he went to his bench relatively early, and they produced for him. I mean, you look at Kuminga not playing. Well, JaMychal Green was Looney tonight, and guess what? He's pretty effective. Dante didn't have a great stat game, but he was out there on the floor making physical plays at a couple of steals. He was diving. GP2 was okay, So I didn't think that the Warriors were tired at all. I thought that the Lakers, again, were able to execute their defensive game plan. And as everybody stated tonight, and Carl just said, at some point, Looney and Draymond Green are going to have to make some shots to keep those big guys even. They didn't foul them because they knew that the Warrior big guys looked spooked when they were under the basket. I mean, Draymond missed a couple layups, Looney missed some shots, and I think you got to tip your hat to the Lakers tonight because they executed their game plan better. Now, the Warriors had a chance to win. The score is 112 all, and then Steph Curry gets his shot blocked by Anthony Davis. So this is going to be a tough battle. I mean, I said 6 games. It's probably going to go 7. Dan, you made a great point about Anthony Davis. Yeah.
Oh, no. I mean, yeah.
I mean, if he's going to play – no, I'm joking too. But listen, if Anthony Davis is going to play 45 minutes a game and be that effective, you got to tip your hat to the Lakers. I don't believe he's going to do it. Increase the pace and just attack Anthony Davis and concentrate and make those layups. It would have been a 2 or 3 point win for the Warriors tonight. Instead, it was a 5-point loss because they missed too many bunnies by their interior players who have to score some. So they don't have to score a lot. They got to score some.
Go ahead, Danny. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say Michael Thompson made a comment, Clay's dad, a few months ago. He said he thought the Warriors would be really struggling because of the lack of a real big man. He said, you've got to look in the front mirror, not the rear view mirror. And this year's different. He felt like they really missed it at the trade deadline by not picking up a rim protector or a big to
Nerlens Noel. How many times did I say Nerlens Noel at the trade deadline, at the buyout market? That guy was there for anybody to have. He would have helped. Could have helped. I mean, you knew you were going to get a big.
Larry, what team did he help?
Well, I mean, where'd he go? Where'd he go? He was in Dallas, and then he went where?
Boston. Brooklyn. He went to
Brooklyn, yeah.
And no disrespect to him. The challenge is he's not a smart enough basketball player to play in their system and be able to help them be able to do the handoffs, make the passes. Don't get me wrong. If they played a more traditional style, you could find some minutes for him, but you just can't. He can't space the floor. He can't score around the rim very well. So he becomes like a designated hitter when you don't have designated hitters and able to play in the lineup. So
I hear you, Carl. My argument was not about it was more about insurance. I mean, think about it this way, guys. Draymond Green is completely healthy. Kevon Looney is completely healthy. When the deadline came up, that was a question mark. Would these guys be healthy? I was looking for a big as not, as just an insurance policy, because the reality is if you didn't have Looney or Green, you would be in a world of hurt right now. And to me, it's almost borderline surprising that they do have them both, considering the mileage and how much basketball these guys have played and where we are in the season. So my thing was not as much about instead of, it was in addition to, and I just luckily it's worked out there in their favor where Looney looks great. He's healthy. Green looks great. He's healthy. But on a night like tonight, you're just thinking, man, you just need more size. I hear what you're saying. I'm, in a way, it's like 2020 hindsight. It's like you get beat by a guy like in a game like this where Anthony Davis just eats your lunch and, basically bullies everybody, and you're like, God, you got to have another answer inside. And why don't they have another answer inside? So I'm, if anything, I'm bringing this up now. What do you think of this comment, though, from Hendricks? He says, I want to know what Poole's thought process was when he shot that three to end the game and why Kerr didn't call a timeout. And then Mace Powell jumps in here and says, Poole took the last 2 threes, get him out of the game the last few minutes, and you have a different story. I was thinking the same thing in one of those threes. I'm like, wait a second. How does that
he
ball
made
not
a three when it was 112, 106.
But I mean, how does that? It's like you live and die with your guy. You just had Steph Curry go for 50. I need Steph to be taking at least one of those 2 final threes. And, it's great to have Poole out there, but if he's out there taking shots that I want earmarked for Steph looked very exasperated. Let's just say that. I don't want to say angry or frustrated because he really wasn't. He was just kind of kicking his foot up in the air like, I would have liked to have had that look.
How do you guys shot?
Yeah, I mean, how do you guys see that last shot? Did you think Poole should have cycled it back to Curry? Do you think that Poole should have taken those shots? What do you think?
The only thing I would have liked to have seen at that point, I thought he could have edged in maybe a step or two so that he could have taken a more traditional tray ball. Taking the big boy, the bolo ball late in the game is always a little bit harder just because it takes a little bit more out of your legs to get that shot up late. But I didn't have a problem with how Jordan Poole played offensively. It's always the question of decision-making and the question of how's he going to defend. And I thought he did a pretty decent job covering himself tonight. And let's be honest, although he did have 5 fouls, he had no turnovers. So, I didn't have a problem with Jordan Poole tonight. I thought he played about as well based on the situation as he could play. And they weren't going to give Steph Curry that last shot. Let's just be honest. They went and did a hard double really quick. And they were face guarding Clay the whole time. He couldn't get away from Reeves. So at some point, somebody's got to take a shot. And you had other guys that weren't in a position to take it. Wiggins was 1 for 5 tonight from the 3 line. So at some point, you had to have a guy who had made shots take it. It made 6 out of 11. So,
were you surprised that Kerr didn't take a timeout there after LeBron missed or made the second free throw and put him up by 3? Warriors had the ball, 15 seconds or so left, something like that, and then they came down, and that's when Poole. I mean, that was the cleanest look. It was just a little deep, like you said, Carl. Maybe he could have taken one more dribble, pulled in, 24, 25-footer instead of a 28-footer. But if you look at it in real time, somebody, I can't remember who it was over on the right side of him, and it looked like they were going to close in had he taken another step. Maybe that's what he was thinking. Maybe I don't get a clean shot. I thought it was a big, and he might have thought, hey, let me just take this. Nobody's on me. I'm wide open. But it's not a high percentage shot.
The only problem I have with Jordan Poole, and I'm being somewhat facetious, is that he didn't make the shot. I mean, he played about as well as he can play. And my only concern is, will he play as well in game 2? Because they're going to need him. He was from 28 feet. He could have definitely moved in to about 25 and lined it up. Looked like he, had a little too much arc on that shot. But I didn't have a problem with him doing that, because if they're going to win a championship, they're going to need Jordan Poole to be a $30+ million player. And we've been questioning all year if he is that guy. So I didn't have a problem with it. I think Carl's analysis was spot on. When Steph initially gave the ball up, I mean, they could have married the guy on the basketball court because they were on him, ready to walk down the hall. He was not going to get that ball back. And the Lakers were disciplined because the guy covering Clay in the corner, he didn't move. He stayed right there, making sure that if he threw him the pass, he would have intercepted the ball. So give the Lakers credit. Jordan Poole was open for a reason. I'm not surprised Kerr didn't call timeout because guess what? If you're the Lakers, I don't know if they had a foul to give or whatever, but they would have been fouling the Warriors. I think there's no way in hell they would have given them a wide open three. They might have made a mistake and then they got one, and that's on them. But the only thing Jordan Poole didn't do was make the shot. If he was wide open, if he makes the shot, they go to overtime, lost by 3, or are they up 1 at that point? I don't remember.
They would have tied it if he made it.
Yeah. So, hey, man, this is a tough game. This is a 7-game, 6-game series, and they're going to have to make those shots to win a championship. But this is a tough game, and he missed a shot. You move on to game 2.
Yeah, they're going to have to just now win. They're going to have to obviously win game 2 and then either win 3 or 4 or game 6. They're going to have to win 1 in LA to get home court back. I think they can. They've won a road game, 19, 20 straight series under Steve Kerr in the Western Conference playoffs. I think they'll get one in LA. What is it?
I think it's 28 straight series.
Oh yeah, 28. That's right, 28. But they've won like 19. They haven't lost a series in 19 or 20 in the Western Conference. But they've won a road game, whether it be Western or Eastern Conference, 28 straight series. That's right.
I just thought the Lakers were the more aggressive team. They looked a little bit more rested, but even at the end, the Warriors were going right by them. But they just were a little bit more efficient, a little bit more under control, and Steph may have had a little bit of a drop back after having an amazing performance. Brian Iglesias, 95.7, Brian says, no doubt that Poole had a solid game, 21 points, 6 made threes. But there's no doubt late in the game, offensive execution is a major concern. The missed floater, 28 feet, heat check, 3 cost the Dubs the game. He goes on to say, Brian Iglesias says, Dubs took 53 threes. That's why they didn't get the foul calls. Fans were crying for all game. Lakers were the more aggressive team tonight. I do think the Lakers were more aggressive tonight. I think the Lakers also were prepared. It's funny. I think the Lakers were more prepared for the Warriors than the Warriors were to play the Lakers. Does that make sense? It seemed like the Lakers, listening to Anthony Davis, they just got a full dose of Warriors Kings, and they had time to study it, analyze it, think about it, game plan for it, where the Warriors are just like, you know what? Let's go. We'll exist on momentum and energy and this and that. It's the playoffs, and in reality, there's just so many different things that you have to do to beat your opponent. It's so much more of a matchup game. I think Golden State will look a lot better in many phases in Game 2 after just having time to digest this film. What do you think the Warrior coaches say to? What do you think Kerr says at practice? What do you think the Warrior coaches say to get their team back on the beam, and also just kind of put this one behind them and not let it define the entire series? What's Kerr's message, do you think, at the next practice?
I think it's a simple message. Fellas, we know that there's 2 things we have to do better. We have to find ways to avoid getting shots disrupted and blocked. We have to pick up the pace, like Red said, because if you keep fouling and you keep sending them to the line, it's like a team with a great ground game in football. You're just grinding out the clock. You're wearing people down by pancake blocks, and eventually the body blows wear you out. If the game is free-flowing and moving, then we know the Warriors, who were 45 points greater from the three-point line, should have won this game, if they're not fouling as much, by at least 10 to 12 points. But that wasn't the game plan. The other thing that has to happen is when you're in a battle with a team that wants to try to beat you up, You have to find some unique ways to counter that. And I think one of the ways that you're going to see Steve Kerr and his staff counter that is they've got to get a little bit more savvy on how to draw fouls. I mean, there are times where they're coming off of screens, coming off of pick and rolls. And I know some people hate this, but what Trae Young does works. And there are other NBA guys that use the snake dribble, getting underneath the big when they set the screen. Let the guy run up his back so that you can get 3 or 4 more fouls piled up so you can get in the bonus at the 6-minute mark and get yourself. The Warriors can't be more than 10 free throws behind the Lakers and expect to beat this team consistently.
My barometer is 115 points. I think if the Lakers score over 115 points against the Warriors, they're going to have a chance to win every game. They need to keep the Lakers between 100 and 110, and they should be able to do it because the Lakers don't have a lot of volume scores. LeBron, as great as he is right now, is the second best player on the team. The Warriors defense was pretty good, but they got to make a decision. They said tonight, we're going to play a kind of a matchup zone and increase the intensity from time to time, and then we'll outscore them. Didn't work. So with Anthony Davis, their only real primary guy, they got to decide they want to double him. They're going to have to take the ball out of his hands or make him shoot the ball against two guys on the block. If he goes out to the 3-point line, he's making those shots, tip your hat to him, box him out, get the rebound. But they can't allow somebody to wreck their defense the way they did tonight. I think if they can stop Anthony Davis, LeBron's going to score between 20 and 28 a game. That's kind of where he is at this point. I think they'll have a better chance to win because the Warriors, I believe, will score more than 115 just simply because of who they are. They'll get to the free throw line more, but they got to adjust on how they play Anthony Davis. They can't allow him to just bully them inside with one guy. They got to double him, I think.
Well, I mean, at this point, what damage is it going to do, right? I mean, absolutely. If you let Anthony Davis go throughout this series beating you, come on. I mean, seriously, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I mean, come on. They've got to force him to force the Lakers to do something else. If you get beat, you get beat. But you can't go down doing it the same way. I'll tell you the stat that jumps out at me, guys. And by the way, James Foster points out a sequence here. And James, thanks for the donation. He says, what was the second chance points tonight? The 3 missed threes when Wiggins got 2 offensive rebounds was brutal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I thought that sequence was deflating. That was a deflating sequence right there that James is referring to. But the number that jumps out to me, guys, is 54-28. That was the paint point ratio. Lakers were plus 26 points in the paint. I don't know if it's an extra pass. I don't know if it's drawing Anthony Davis out of the lane, but you're not going to win if the other team gets 26 more points in the paint and you don't really have any ability to score in the paint. I mean, you're just not you're just going to live by the 3, die by the 3. Yeah, you may win a game, you may win 2 games. You're not going to win the series if the disparity in the paint points is that one-sided. They got to figure out a way to get some easy dunks and bunnies and the stuff inside the putbacks, or it's going to be a long series. What is the solution there? Is there a solution? We know LA's got great size, but you can't just sit there and be like, we can't go in there, but then the Lakers blocked 10 shots tonight. So what's the solution? How can the Warriors get more points in the paint? Because there's 3 areas really where Golden State, I think, has been cooked all year. Turnovers, rebounds, paint points. If they don't, tonight, only 8 turnovers. They battled like crazy on the glass, even though AD had a monster night. It was relatively even. But the paint points was defining. What's the adjustment? Is there an adjustment?
I think one thing that could happen is the Lakers are not a great shooting team. So the Warriors can play a zone where Kuminga is not at a liability when they play man-on-man like they did at Sacramento because he was lost. He couldn't follow where the ball is. But if they put him in a zone, you could get Kuminga in the game, give him 5-minute run, see what he does. If he's lapsing, mental lapses, or he's blowing assignments, you're going to have to get him out. But he may be a guy that you can get on the wings to crash the glass, come cutting in on, Curry driving, or whether it's Poole driving, dish it to Kuminga and have him just go up, hard for the slam, because he's so athletic. They've got to, that's the one way I think they could get to the hoop, is with raw athleticism, because the smaller guys are going to get rejected.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Kurt giving him a chance to see what he does. I mean, I don't think he can do any worse than sitting on the bench not playing at all. But again, I'm more concerned about the Warriors' defensive schemes as opposed to their offense. They put points on the board. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't like in sack, but they're going to find a way to put points on the board. The disparity with free throw shooting now to get a lot better. I'm more concerned about AD looking like Lawrence Taylor out there, just kind of wrecking their team. And I think, again, you're going to have a hard double on him until someone on the Lakers really starts beating you from the perimeter, which I don't really see it. I think you can close those guys out, and, they'll make some, but they're going to miss more than they make, I believe. But you cannot allow him to do his Moses Malone routine on your home court and just destroy you, because you're going to get in foul trouble. And it makes it really, really tough to beat a team as smart and as talented as the Lakers. I think JaMychal played really, really well tonight in his small sample size, and maybe he's the guy to kind of bring Anthony Davis out with frontline players. He's playing a bench role tonight, but maybe have him in Draymond's position if Draymond's not playing as well. Put him out there with Steph and Clay and some of the more offensive-oriented players to see what he can do, because he can shoot the ball and he's a tough guy. So it'll be interesting to see what Kerr does.
And I'm slightly different than Red in terms of the double.
You have a grand piano, and Red doesn't have a grand piano.
That is true.
But Red can rap.
That's right. Red's got musical talent, and you have a grand piano. But go ahead, Carl.
The challenging part is, if you go hard double on Anthony, particularly if you go hard double early, you show it early.
No, don't show it early.
The Lakers are not going to take tray balls. That was very clear tonight. LeBron shot their most trays, and he went 1 for 8. They'll dive to the basket. And the challenge you run into there is, if they're diving to the basket, you've got a smaller guy trying to take away Hachimura, trying to take away Vanderbilt. Even D'Lo was diving to the cup on back cuts and getting layups. If you really look at what Anthony Davis did tonight, he scored 30 points. He took 19 shots. He shot 8 free throws, and he didn't miss any. He ended up +1. He was a destructive force. But if you look at Dennis Schroeder played 19 minutes as opposed to 43. Dennis Schroeder was 5 for 10 from the floor. He was 9 for 10 from the line. Dennis Schroeder was more destructive, and he was +1. So that's where you have to make your question. Where did we get in trouble with Dennis Schroeder? Fouling him on the perimeter in many cases when he wasn't even taking shots.
Oh no, Schroeder. Is it Schroeder or Schroeder? It's Schroeder. He's got the two. Those two little dots?
I don't know what those things are. I have no idea.
I don't know either, but it might be Schroeder. But either way, yeah, he's underrated. He's really underrated. I mean, it's amazing he's been on as many teams as he's been on. He liked him on Boston, liked him on OKC. I mean, this guy can handle. He's not an easy cover in the half court. He can play up tempo. He can hit some big shots. He's got that streak in his hair. Maybe that's it. That's the streak. But Matt Wright says AD is going to kill us, but LeBron really looked old out there. Didn't even notice him at times. LeBron's hurt. LeBron's got a foot injury. LeBron just shot 26% from 3. I think the Warriors have got to play off of LeBron and just give him that 3 like they gave Sabonis the look, and hopefully the King falls in love with the outside shot, because I think after watching that Memphis series and seeing LeBron struggle and kind of drag that foot around, he's not 100%. He's limping to the finish line. This is going to be the Anthony Davis series. And that's why it's like, how do the Warriors counter Davis? James Foster, who I think said some good chat, says worst lineup is when they go Dante DiVincenzo, Looney, and Green out there. It's 2 versus 5 on offense.
That's true.
What has happened to DiVincenzo's offensive game in the last 3 or 4 games?
That is a little disturbing because he's got the savvy, he's got enough handle to get into the lane, get into the mid range. I mean, there's pull-ups all available for players like him. That's not, Gary Payton II's game. That's not some of the other players. Or Michael Green's not going to do that. We know Wiggins and Dante have to be able to be aggressive in those places because so much of the focus of the defense is on Steph. And then the other focus on the defense is let's not give Klay open looks. I mean, Klay took 25 shots tonight. Many of those shots were really good shots. Some of them were a little bit hurried because you don't have a lot of offense on the floor when you have both Looney and Draymond on the floor. I expect Draymond Green to have a monster game too. I mean, Draymond Green had the worst plus minus on the Warriors, and most people don't know it, but Jordan Poole had the best plus minus. He was +7. Draymond Green was negative. Outside of Klay Thompson, there was nobody else who was on the plus side except for Jordan Poole. I think he takes a lot of criticism, and in some cases, he doesn't earn it all, but people just find a reason to just, say something about him. And it's going to be very interesting to watch game 2 because the thermostat and the way people feel about the game could be very different if they execute their game plan in game 2. Stay away from fouling. They were great on not turning the ball over tonight. Both teams only had 8 turnovers tonight. They did a really good job on the glass. I mean, Kevon Looney only played 29 minutes and he had 23 rebounds.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing what he's doing, guys? I mean, he had 20-plus rebounds in 3 of the 7 games against Sacramento. Or was it 4? I mean, he was absolutely spectacular. Kevon Looney has gotten into a spot right now where he's a genius basketball player. His positioning, his clock, whatever you want to call it, his tempo. I mean, I know Anthony Davis just dominated this game tonight, but Looney's rebounding ability is just absolutely uncanny right now. To say he has a nose for the ball, I mean, we're talking about a guy who does not really get off the floor. He's not one of the quicker jumpers. He rebounds on anticipation, using his mind, positioning, length. I mean, it really is. He's got an old school throwback kind of a game going right now.
He does 3 things that great rebounders do. Rebounding was the best part of my game. Sometimes I couldn't throw the ball in the ocean, but I've always been a good rebounder at every level. He tracks the ball with his eyes. All right. He also, if you watch Looney, his arms are always up.
Yeah.
His arms are never down. His arms are always up, so he's tracking the ball with his eyes, and his arms are already up. The other guy's arms are not up yet, so he has an advantage there. The other thing is he can rebound the ball and corral it with both hands, his left hand and his right hand. So, again, that's why coaching is really important for young players, and they don't get good coaching. If you're going to teach anybody, boy, girl, whatever, you teach them how to rebound with both hands. And that's what Looney does. He corrals it when it's on the left side. He gets the ball with his left hand. He corrals it, brings it together. On the right side, corrals it with his right hand, brings it to his chest. That's why he's such a great rebounder. Going back to your question about Dante DiVincenzo, nobody's a bigger fan than Dante than I am. I love the guy. But
he's been great all year.
But we're in the playoffs now. He's playing against better teams, better athletes, quicker guys, more athletic. So he is an above average athlete, but he's been overwhelmed now athletically. And it's really showing. And I think his confidence is wavering a little bit. He had a couple of threes tonight, and he deferred to Steph. I have no problem with that. But you can't defer. You can't have a deferred mindset. You got to step up and make that shot because you're a good player. And now he's a little tentative because he's being overwhelmed athletically. I think the coach has got to coach him up and say, Dante, we love you, boy. You can do it. Just go out there and play your game because he's not hurting them, but he's not helping them right now.
Well, it'd be nice is an early game pick or two for him to give him some space, because right now I think you're right. He is feeling suffocated on the floor. There's some better athletes. They're a little bit more on it. He doesn't have as much room,
No,
and I think he senses that, and he's dishing, and he's getting into dish mode instead of aggressive mode. And then when you get there for a game, okay, 2, okay, it's like 5, 6, 7 games. Suddenly, guess what? Now it's 5-on-4 because they're not really guarding you to shoot. And guess what also isn't open? Nobody is open off of your drives because nobody's playing you to shoot. They're all playing you to pass. So you've got to mix in some offense. And if that means they set a screen, they don't set a lot of screens for Dante, do they? No. And they shouldn't normally, but it might be worth a try to set him a couple screens early just to get him see the ball. I mean, come on, we've talked about this many times on all different levels of basketball. When you see the ball go through the net a couple times, it's amazing what it does to your mindset and your confidence. And to me, if they could get him going early in one of these games as an offensive option, I think that it would open up the floor for everybody else and create more room for everybody else. I think it's that kind of important to do it, because if you look at it, guys, they're not getting a lot. I mean, look at this from this comment right here from Amar Singh. He says it's a terrible matchup. Too much size, and the Warriors have no bench at all. The Warriors do have a pretty good bench this year, but their bench has evaporated because suddenly Kuminga's persona non grata, and DiVincenzo's offense has taken a hike. I mean, they need to have offense the bench scoring was very close tonight, but they need to have DiVincenzo providing some points.
The Warriors bench scored more. They played solidly. They did what you asked. Sometimes when fans are fanatical and they see the loss, it's very easy to kind of make a grand statement as opposed to really breaking down what you saw. As I mentioned earlier, the Laker bench outside of Dennis Schroeder did not play much. They definitely didn't play much in the second half. They really went with their core 6. And you had a game tonight where LeBron James did not have a foul called on him. Anthony Davis had 2 fouls called on him. You've got to put some pressure and put those guys in vulnerable situations where they're having to deal with foul trouble, they're having to deal with fatigue, and they're having to deal with chasing. Yeah, and those will be the things that the Warriors staff is going to focus on.
I agree, Carl. And I would expect a couple of other types of adjustments. And here's what I would do. I would try to do some pick and rolls and get Vanderbilt off of Steph so that Steph is matched up with whether it be Russell or Reeves, because start doing pick and rolls, get those guys to switch, because Vanderbilt's length, he's 6'8", and he's quick, and he's bothering Steph. And I think that's why you saw Steph not really take a lot of shots early on, because he wasn't open. Vanderbilt was in his pocket, from the moment, he'd take it out of bounds, and Vanderbilt was all over him in the backcourt. And so I'd start doing some pick and rolls and getting him to switch. The other thing I would do on defense is I would double up a little bit on Davis, LeBron, leave Vanderbilt open, leave LeBron open out far, play off of him, let those guys try and beat you outside. Vanderbilt made his first 3 tonight against the Warriors in 7 games because he played, 3 or 4 with Utah before he got traded?
6.
6. Yeah, he played a total of 6. So tonight was the 7th game. He made a 3 from the corner, but he's not a perimeter shooter. Their only real perimeter shooters in that starting lineup are Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. So you can kind of play off the rest of those guys and make them beat you on the outside, and you can go zone, and that will allow, as I said earlier, Kuminga to come in and get some minutes, because Kuminga, I think, if he play a zone and then just box out and go to the boards aggressively, he could give you another element. So I think they got to do something with that, is make those guys beat you from the 3. They were 6 of 25 from the 3-point line, or 3-point tonight. 6 of 25.
Dan, let me ask you a question, though. Here's what the coaches are looking at. How many of the other teams' younger guys are they playing? Not a lot. This is the playoffs. They're going to play their best players.
Oh, I agree. I'm not a big.
No. My point
Kuminga.
is, no. My point is, I don't mind Kuminga playing, but Curry is going off his box a little bit because he's playing Moody, and Moody's a young guy. All the other teams that they're playing, they're not playing young guys, and the reason why is because it's a premium on mistakes, and games are won and lost because
absolutely,
because of defense, and that's why Kuminga is probably not on the court because James talked about this. I think the gentleman's name is James. The Warriors are out there sometimes with 5 guys, but only 2 offensive players.
Right.
Kuminga's not an offensive player. So
exactly. You got to find the spots for him because I think he's got a very short leash. And I would, if you're going to play him, it might be a 3 or 4 minute. I know Cy was upset they'd only played 3 or 4 minutes one game, but it's because he looked lost out there. And you can't, like you said, it's the playoffs. It's a 16-game tournament, first to 16 wins. They've got 4. They need 12 more. And these are going to be, to me, this is going to be their toughest championship if they win it because they're going to have to get through a Laker team who's veteran, savvy, difficult. And it looks like they'd have to go through Denver, which would be very, very tough. And then it's either going to be, probably Boston or Philly. So
I don't think they're getting by Denver, even if they get by this Laker team. I just think Denver's got too many guys in their prime. They're playing too well. If Golden State could, to me, this was a series where Golden State had to put away the Lakers quick and regain some energy. Instead, it looks like it's going to be another knockdown, drag out 6 or 7 gamer. And who knows? And it's going to take they're going to get their pound of flesh out of Golden State, and we'll see what Golden State has left in the next round if they're lucky enough to escape and advance. Mark Hope says, Larry, Frank, Carl, Danny, love the show. Respect always. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate you. This is kind of an interesting one too from Grilled Cheese, who says GP2 couldn't score in an empty gym. Another 0 production guy on offense. The Warriors have a ton of them at this point. And I think that point that overarching final point is the one I want to ask you guys about. Can Golden State do this if they don't get some consistent bench scoring from – you're not getting it from Peyton, right? You're probably not going to get it from Jermichael. It's probably got to come from Poole and DiVincenzo. Poole had 21 tonight. DiVincenzo had 0 points. Mm-hmm. 0. It seems to me that it's just Golden State seems like, if you got Green and Looney, they're both not offensive players. So it just seems like they're really depending on Curry to have big nights. Wiggins is, some nights has big nights, some nights doesn't. 15 tonight for Wiggins. But it's like there's not enough offensive players if DiVincenzo is not an offensive player. They got to unleash his offense. And all I would say about Kuminga is, I just think that maybe you could put Kuminga out there and try to get some easy buckets at the rim, throw him the lob, get him out there for a 5-6 minute run and see if you can get some points in the paint. Where are you going to get your points in the paint? Looney's not going to score in the paint. Green's not going to score in the trees. There's the threat of Anthony Davis is too great. He's looming there. So how are you going to get these points in the paint? You're either going to have to penetrate and go to the rim, which I'd love to see more of from Poole and others, or you're going to have to make that extra pass. Or you're going to have to get somebody with some size and athleticism that can rise up and finish inside like a Kuminga. How would you guys suggest Golden State get more points in the paint? And then Brian Iglesias also has a great one here. He says, he got 95.7. Brian says, Kevon brings a calming presence to the court that is so beneficial to their success on both ends of the floor. I thought Kerr left him out for some key minutes tonight, and I was surprised by that. But how can Golden State find some more offense in the lane?
Well,
where's it coming from?
Let's look at two things. Number one, Kevon Looney had 10 points. He took 11 shots tonight. So Kevon Looney was offensive. He just wasn't offensive in the mid-range where the wide open shots were. Number two, he didn't get to the foul line. So when you're not getting to the foul line and you're not taking those shots in the midi area, you're putting more pressure on the guys who play deeper on the perimeter, because we recognize the way the Lakers are playing defense. By the way, I was very interested that Anthony Davis is able to clog the lane, and yet we have a defensive 3-second rule. The Warriors are going to have to do something with placement of whoever he's guarding to force him to have to pick a side and then just play on the other side.
Yeah, it's interesting in the playoffs roll around, because Looney in the Sacramento series was just camping in the key too. Defensively, he was in there like 6-7 seconds. They never called it. I was like, are they going to call defensive, illegal defense? But they never did. So, but we'll see. I mean, I think there'll be adjustments made, and it'll be interesting. I know Cy's on his way in. Sounds like heard him just in, so he'll be.
And I keep hearing people talk about the Lakers have a better bench. Is Dennis Schroeder better than Jordan Poole?
Just as good.
And part of that is because he's a little bit more of a two-way player, we know.
Yeah.
Jordan's a little bit more of an offensive juggernaut. The rest of the Laker bench, Rudy Hachimura, little of this, little of that,
They're not playing their bench because
I was surprised they didn't play Beasley at all.
No, they're not playing.
He can't defend. He doesn't defend.
Yeah,
And they don't want to take threes. They're only going to take threes that are wide open.
They love Reeves
tonight.
They love Reeves because he is not afraid of the moment. You saw what he did tonight. He stuck 2 crucial 3-pointers when the game was kind of in the balance. I mean, and he's savvy. He can kind of negotiate the lane. He gets deflections. I mean, he's a good player. And guess what? The number one reason, LeBron loves him. Yeah. So if LeBron likes you, you're going to be on the floor. That's the bottom line. So
he also had 5 rebounds. I mean, he was active himself. It was a good game tonight for the Lakers. They got a chance to exert their will. They don't want this series sped up. They don't want frantic chaos to rule. The Warriors have 2 jobs. Number one, enforce their identity on game 2. And number 2, go to Los Angeles and immediately steal the Thunder. Because if they go into game 4 up 2-1, there will be a lot more tension both on the Laker bench and in the stands. But now you have to go do it.
I think you're right. They've lost game 1 before to Cleveland with LeBron, come back, won the series. Didn't they lose game 1 with a couple times? They went
down 3-1 to OKC. So I don't know if they won game 1 or lost game 1.
They lost game 1 to OKC. Yeah.
I mean, I just know the Warriors have been down, so I don't think this is a problem. But like we're saying tonight, what they have to do, they have to make a big adjustment. They cannot have someone physically and mentally dominate them the way that Anthony Davis did tonight. So I'm interested in seeing the adjustment that Kerr and his staff makes. Maybe mucking it up. I'm not quite sure, but you cannot allow him to do what he did tonight. I think that's priority number 1. They'll be able to figure out the score. We talked about getting inside the lane. Pick and roll will help them do that, and I think I think they'll run more pick and roll. Now, the interesting thing about pick and roll, it doesn't necessarily give Steph more opportunities. It gives his teammates more opportunities because he'll be within the 3-point line. He'll drive to the basket. He'll get floaters that he can make. But as those defenders converge on him, it sets up good opportunities for his teammates. I think that's where the real opportunities are for Dante.
If they're practicing, I don't know if they'll practice tomorrow. Probably not, because it's such probably just a shoot around or whatever. It's just, but if I'm Kerr, I'm having those guys practice their jump stops and pull up from 15. It's wide open. Don't go all the way to the hoop. because Davis is there. You can pull up and shoot a 12 to 15 footer. It was open all night, but they kept hoisting the threes or going all the way to the hoop. Clay was doing it a little bit. He would take, some.
They shot 40% from three tonight. They shot 39%. So they didn't do a bad job from three.
No, they weren't bad, but they also, Curry went to the hoop with that last one that got blocked. I think it was 114, 112, and they were down. And that's when LeBron ended up, taking it down and getting fouled and made 1 of 2. But
the game was tied.
He tried. No, they were down by 2 at the time.
Okay.
They were down by 2. But Curry could have just pulled up and shot it. He's good at that. And, I think Davis is such an amazing shot blocker. He's got such length that I think, and again, it's game 1. They're feeling it out. I mean, against Sacramento, it wasn't an issue. They could get to the hoop, get right to the, the rim all the time. So this is a little different. And
95.7 Brian says, going back to last year's finals, the Warriors have lost 3 straight game 1s. Celtics, Kings, and now Lakers. Just goes to show that this series is far, far from over. And this live stream is far, far from over because Cyrus Satsis stops by from Locked On. Cy, give us your thoughts on the game. I got to pull something off the printer. Give me 30 seconds, but give us your thoughts on what you saw tonight.
I saw a team that was out-coached again. I saw a team where the players that I thought were going to be utilized against a much bigger Lakers team were instead rotting on the bench like they normally do. One point I was bringing up on Locked On Warriors tonight is this is by far the smallest team in the dynasty. Every other team, any team that's won a championship, did not have these diminutive lineups where your power forwards are 6'6", or 6'5". You have lineups out there where you have 4 point guards essentially. They're 6'3", 6'4". There's a reason why the Warriors put up so many threes. The Lakers weirdly designed it that way. Anthony Davis was not rolling over pick and rolls and screens, daring the Warriors to shoot those threes. They were living with that. And the result was, the Warriors shot the ball good from 3. They shot almost 40%, as Frank said. I heard that. But they also only had 6 free throw attempts the whole night. I mean, that's crazy. So the Lakers never had to worry about getting in foul trouble. Draymond Green got in foul trouble himself, which screwed a lot of things up. But that's one less big that you have. And, Jermichael Green, I thought had a solid 8 minutes in the second quarter there. We never saw him again. The Jonathan Kuminga DNP is outrageous. And for Kerr to sit there in the post game and say, well, this was like a feel-out game. It's so freaking obvious to anyone watching that the Warriors are tiny and the Lakers are getting incredibly easy baskets. They won that points in the paint battle 54-28 for a damn good reason. And, we're probably going to see adjustments, but they didn't need to lose game 1 to realize, we need to play bigger players in this series. And now they're down 0-1, man. And it was wholeheartedly unnecessary. No panic buttons that I'm pressing. I think the Warriors are the better team. I think they're going to win the series still. But to give up home court like that, it's just embarrassing, man. I'm so disappointed in Kerr this year.
Let me ask you a question, Si. Would you be comfortable with Kerr playing Kuminga and Moses at the same time? Because clearly, okay, so you don't have a problem playing those 2 young guys together.
No, they're man. I don't. They're not showing me anything that indicates they're not ready to play. Moses Moody, I thought, was actually fantastic tonight.
He was great. He was.
And we saw him for 6 minutes. And there's just a lot of weird things. Like DiVincenzo was awful offensively tonight, right? Just an absolute non-existent player virtually. And, but
really took one shot,
trust. And the problem is when you look at past teams versus this team, you've basically replaced, like last year's title team, for example, where Otto Porter Jr. was playing a lot of serious minutes. He was starting a lot of those NBA Finals games. The dude is 6'8". Right? This is not like some small guy that he was rolling out there. And you've replaced him with Dante DiVincenzo. It was a 6'4" guard. Jordan Poole last year was averaging in the NBA Finals, I think, like 10 minutes. Now you're counting on him for like 30 minutes. He had a good game tonight, but that shot at the end was just god-awful. If there's one thing I wish Jordan Poole would change in his game, it's stop thinking that you're Stephen Curry. Like, you are not Stephen Curry. So if you have an easier shot to take the easier shot, man. There was no need for a 30-foot shot there. That was That was insane, man. So I do. I have faith in the two youngsters. They have. I literally just went through Kuminga's entire season game log tonight just to remind myself, like, am I crazy in advocating for him? No. Every single time he plays significant minutes, they win, man. And he contributes significantly. He's a great shooter, contrary to what people are saying. I do not understand the DNPs for Kuminga, because this series would have been ripe for him, and still might be. Hopefully Kerr will wake up and make the adjustment.
I walked out of the room. Your primary takeaway on this series was what side? That
small ball sucks. The small ball
yeah.
is bullshit, and I'm done with it. Like it's like even all the other years where we thought we saw small ball. Like I was looking back in history, like you had Andre Iguodala, right, who's like 6'7", physically strong. He's a two-way player, not a great shooter, but he can still pass and attack the rim. Sean Livingston, who's sorely missed. That dude was like 6'7", 6'8". Otto Porter Jr. was 6'8". This team used to play legitimate bigs, ranging from Andrew Bogut to Zaza Pachulia to JaVale McGee. Even like more random players, like Mo Spates would play significant minutes. He was 6'10". David Lee was instrumental coming off the bench in that first title. He's a big at 6'9". You need bigs, man. And like
David West,
abandoned that.
David West was another.
David West, I keep forgetting about him. He's another one. Yeah, and I don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't get what's going on with Kerr, man. And no one, and this is a failing on the media too, because no one there is asking him the questions that need to get asked. All these people care about is just, I want Kerr to like me. I want the Warriors to like me. That's not your fucking job. Your job is to get answers. Like, it's embarrassing. It really is. I'm obviously pissed tonight. Sorry.
Mark Hope says, "Cy, love you, Dan, and I agree with you regarding Kerr." There you go, Mark Hope emptying the clip tonight. What is the adjustment? Who do you want to? If Kerr has an adjustment in him, I mean, as Brian said, the series is far from over. This can be a long series. I fully expect Golden State to win Game 2. The fact that Golden State does have some age, especially that they need their older guys to lead them, right? They're not going to be led by the kids. It's clear at this point. They're going to be led by the vets. The fact that there's a game every other day and that there's very little rest in this series, how much does that hurt them? What do you want to see in Game 2 that you didn't see in Game 1? We'll go around the room. Go ahead. Whoever wants to go first. What do you want to see next game that we didn't get today?
More pace. I think. The Lakers have good perimeter players, but I think that if they push the pace, that means that Anthony Davis probably hasn't set up in the paint, and maybe they get more driving opportunities. So that's one thing I want to see. I also want to see more physical play against Anthony Davis. I mean, they played Domantas Sabonis very physically tonight. I didn't think they were physical enough with Anthony Davis. Now, that weak side cutter who's going to dump into the lane when you double, be creative with your double teams. You don't have to double the guy straight from across the lane. Drop the wing guy down and double. There's 3 different double teams that they can utilize to provide the element of surprise for Anthony Davis, and cut that guy off the lane who's trying to get from the weak side. They need to be a lot more physical than they were tonight. They weren't physical at all, and run. That's what I think.
I'd like to see Curry with the ball more, taking it up the court, having, like I said earlier, pick and roll, get Vanderbilt off of him, get him one-on-one with Reeves or D'Angelo Russell, who he could just clean their clocks. Also on defense, I'd like to see them do a little bit more zone defense, clog the paint, make the Lakers shoot from 3, and just let Vanderbilt, leave him open. He's not going to make, just like they do, with Draymond. Just leave him open, and let LeBron sag off him. Let him try and beat you deep for a while. Don't let him get into his downhill.
Carl, what do you want to see next game?
Well, first of all, I come from the school of 7-game series are super important, not to overemphasize and not to underemphasize what's really critical. I'm not the biggest proponent of doubling Anthony Davis, although I do think an occasional opportunity to do it, particularly late in the second half, might be part of a diet that you might want to throw in. And as Red said, get creative on it. The challenge of sagging off LeBron is LeBron's going to eat up that space and just attack and back guys down and force you to have to send a double to him. And I think the Warriors fans run into one central issue, which is the emotions of seeing perfect basketball was such a big part for a period of time where the team was so beautiful to watch that the ugliness that has to happen at this point, because some of their better players are a little bit older, can get really kind of distasteful. I think they're going to have to find a way to add some athleticism, which could be JaMychal Green playing a little bit more, but that means somebody else plays a little bit less. So the question has to become, do you want to see Steph on the floor less? Do you want to see Clay on the floor less? Do you want to see Wiggins on the floor less? Because somebody's got to give up some time. Kevon Looney's not going to play less than 29 minutes. I mean, you need that when the guy's grabbing 23 rebounds. So we've got to decide who isn't going to play. And if you're going to play Kuminga, that probably means Moody's not going to play. If you're going to play JaMychal Green, that means you're reducing the minutes of Draymond Green. And I think we all know without a great Draymond Green, they're not going to win this series. So I'm more in the Aaron Rodgers relax mode. Let's go into game 2. Let's execute our game plan. Let's pick up the pace. I thought they did a pretty good job of taking care of the basketball. Less fouling allows the pace to go up. And if they do those things, I think they win game 2. And then I think they have to bring the shocking mentality to game 3.
Yeah, and part of what made tonight really frustrating is that the Warriors, like I think Frank mentioned it, and sorry if I'm being redundant, like they shot 39.6% from three. 53 3-point attempts is an insane amount, but they made enough to not let that cost them. They had 30 assists. They were moving the ball. A huge part of the problem was a lot of times they were moving the ball, getting actually close to the basket, but then Anthony Davis and these other bigs were causing a lot of havoc and difficulties for like an Andrew Wiggins, for example. He only went 6 for 14 from the field tonight, and a huge part of that was he was not getting easy looks, even when he was close, because these bigger, taller players have their arms just like lurking over him, and he's forcing these ugly shots as a result. But I think there's 2 players where the minutes, I think, have to come from. So you can play Kuminga. You're right. Even though like it's my wish to see Kuminga and Moody play together, that's never going to happen. I understand that Kerr will never do that in the postseason, but you got to see at least Kuminga some minutes. And I think you have to see JaMychal more minutes to match that Laker size. And where those minutes come from is Dante DiVincenzo. Look, DiVincenzo had a great regular season. I think he's a solid player, but you already have Gary Payne II. You already have someone who's a defensive specialist on your perimeter. And GP2, by the way, I think 12 minutes is not enough. And his matchups tonight were awkward. Like he should not be guarding power forwards out there. He's not built for that. But the minutes, I think, have to come from Dante DiVincenzo, who, again, tonight had 0 points, just 1 field goal attempt. I don't recall him exactly playing outstanding defense. Nothing sticks out from him. And so Kerr has to like realize like sometime like DiVincenzo's not an all-star. He's a great player, but he's not an all-star. Like you're going to be able to win games without him. And I think the minutes have to come from there. And then I also think Klay Thompson, like, and again, this is wishful thinking. I doubt we're going to see this, but like Klay had an awful second half tonight. Like his first half was incredible. He had a phenomenal first half, but second half he was 2 for 9 from beyond the arc. He just, I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know if like his best days are behind him, but he hasn't had a great postseason. His points are empty. Like those 25 points were empty tonight. Like, and they weren't coming at the right time. So I 37 minutes for Klay. I don't think 32 would be the end of the world, and give those 5 minutes to someone who's younger, more athletic, who can attack the paint. I mean, Jonathan Kuminga would eat these guys alive, man. He's fast. It just bums me out so much we didn't see him at all, dude. Because the Lakers, I feel like, are a team built for a player like Kuminga. Who on the Lakers is going to guard him? Who on the Lakers is going to stop Kuminga from just flying in there and getting huge monster slams consistently? So those are my thoughts on it.
Well, and to me, it's like I think you're going to have to attack. You're going to have to figure out a way to either get Anthony Davis in some foul trouble, draw him away from the hoop, or be able to finish inside. I mean, right now, he's such a force. What are you going to do? I mean, yeah. You look at it. He only committed 2 fouls all night. I mean, he played 44 minutes. He only committed 2 fouls. Really? And he blocked 4 shots and challenged countless others. Davis was a major factor.
Mhm.
We forget that, at times the Warriors have faced him and he hasn't been healthy, or, he's just not quite physically right. He's physically right, right now. And the thing about it is, you got to change your thinking with this Laker team, because it used to be everything stemmed off LeBron, and LeBron's spectacular, but LeBron's got an injured foot. He's not shooting the ball well from 3. He shot 8 threes tonight. He made 1. If you can lure him into shooting the 3 ball, challenging him, that might be one thing to do. But it's the focus has become Anthony Davis, and then to me, Schroeder's 19 off the bench were a killer. Seemed like every single time the Warriors were trying to get close, Schroeder would get a decent look and put it down. So that was surprising. If you said to me, what are you expecting out of Schroeder in Game 1? I didn't think he would have 19 points in 31 minutes.
I didn't either. But Larry, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I don't have a lot of confidence at this point at a championship clip in the Warriors' perimeter defenders. I just don't. I mean, they're not great defenders. I mean, GP2 is, Dante is good, but his offense is suffering right now. I have no confidence in Jordan Poole playing defense. And Steph tries, but Steph's not a great defender. Steph tries. I mean, he's only carrying the Empire State Building on his shoulders. So I give him a major pass. And Jordan Poole, I mean, he needs to literally go to like a defensive camp. I mean, like in the summer or something, because his defense is not very good. So, those guys hustle. They win games, but the Warriors' interior defense, and ironically, this is the matchup that they have to play their best defense interiorly. Yeah, Schroeder should not be scoring 19 points. D'Angelo Russell shouldn't be scoring 19 points. Reeves, you want to keep him under 10 if you can. So you're absolutely right. They have to find a way to stop those guys. But I just want to see the Warriors not making mental mistakes on the perimeter and just hustling, because they're not great defensive players. They're just not.
Well, you mentioned, Frank, about GP2 being a great defender, which he is. He just doesn't look like himself to me, because he's not stealing the ball. He's not deflecting passes. Like, you don't see him being the difference maker he was last year. You brought him in last year, and it was like automatic, defense just got the offense going. Yeah. And it was always GP2. And, wasn't that great against Sacramento. Had a couple good plays and stuff, but I just don't think he's 100%.
I mean, he might not be, but he's not a sieve. I mean, he's still a very good defensive player.
Yeah, no, he is. He's the best they have, but he's not like where you could say, oh, he's the lockdown defender he was last year, where he was, with GP2 on the court last year, it was like, okay, they're going to win because he's going to make a difference. I'm not seeing that right now.
Well, you got to remember, Dan, the scouting report comes out to both teams, meaning they understand how GP2 likes to attack people. He likes to steal balls when guys have it in their opposite hand and uses long arms to be able to tip it away. Guys they're game planning to try to reduce the amount of damage he can do so that he's just not tearing up their offense. They're playing away from him. A lot of times they try to get switches. So like somebody said earlier, now he's guarding somebody like Rudy Hachimura who can back him down. These other teams are professionals too.
Oh, yeah. And he only played 12 minutes, so he's not, usually GP2, when he has a huge impact on the game, he's usually playing 20-plus minutes.
Yeah, not really. He only averaged 17 minutes last year. You saw
in the playoffs, though, in the games.
Saw a lot in the finals, because he was a perfect matchup to be able to help them against Jaylen Brown and against Jason Tatum on switches. But the Lakers have a very different style. They have a very slippery guard in D'Angelo Russell, and they have a super quick, explosive guard in Dennis Schroeder. The rest of their guys don't do any of that. So it's a very different group, and you just have to be prepared that they're going to have to make quality adjustments. I think sometimes, and I know, Cy, hey, it's hard when we get emotional. We can take digs at their staff, but the Warrior staff knows what they're doing. They're going to come up with adjustments. And sometimes our favorite guys that we
That's
want
just as subjective as what I said, Carl, if not more so, man. I mean, I don't, unless, how am I being emotional in saying that they DNP'd one of your most athletic players? How is that an emotional statement?
I'll give you the question. Who would you play him in front of?
Who? Be more specific, please. I don't follow.
If you're going to give it, let's say you want to give him 12 minutes, you're going to give him all of DiVincenzo's minutes?
Yes.
And who's going to play point guard when he's on the floor?
Either Jordan Poole or Steph or Draymond or Wiggins I mean, you don't need. I don't. There's no need for like this traditional point guard. They've never needed that.
Okay. You're forgetting they still have to create action. So if you've got Dre at the point with Kuminga in as well, you now have two guys that the defense is not going to honor on the perimeter. They're happy to let Jonathan Kuminga shoot threes, even though he shoots at a decent clip.
He does.
There's a difference between shooting at a decent clip in the regular season and when money's on the line. You just have to
find out. Let's find out, Carl, because you can't say that he doesn't hit it when the money's on the line because we never see it.
I'm not discounting him. I like Jonathan Kuminga. I like him a lot. I'd like to see him play in this series, but I also recognize if he's going to play in place of Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, or he's going to play in front of Andrew Wiggins.
Well, that's dumb too then. That's dumb too then because Kuminga is not a natural big. When you think of Jonathan Kuminga, you got to think of Kawhi Leonard. All right, this is like a 3. He's a small forward. So if Kerr's answer to how to play Kuminga is he has to be a power forward or center, you're misusing him colossally.
He's not currently today a small forward. Currently today, he's a forward. He doesn't really have a position. He's a utility guy.
You're right. You don't know.
Well, I'll even go further than that. To me, the way they've already dealt with Kuminga, I think it's fruitless to think that they're going to be able to just go back to a young player who they've already kind of banished to the bench, and that he's just immediately going to be able to play and have this, great contribution. I kind of think the hay's in the barn on that one. As far as they made their decision,
Larry.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, especially in this series, because in this series you've got a 6'9" guy who, you're not right now. You're not getting anything out of your bench.
No,
you're not getting anything out of your bench.
And look,
So you got to get more out of your bench. And to me, playing Kuminga, playing up tempo, and having him as a finisher, I would be how I would try to get more points off my bench. But I get the sense that they've gotten his confidence in a spot now where he's going to be like just very tentative, and I don't see it working. I think they've already made their bet on Kuminga. They've already kind of put that away.
And I'll tell you why. First of all, Young Montana, you're an absolute jackass. Amar Singh, you don't know shit about basketball. You just got to address you two because you're haters constantly. But real quick here, let me read you these stats, okay? The Warriors in March and April were playing playoff intensity games because we didn't even know if they're going to get into the playoffs. All right, so these were big games they were playing. Kuminga was playing in all these games. In the month of March, he averaged 14.2 points per game, playing 24.7 minutes per game. He shot 59.5% from the field. He shot 44.1% from the three-point line. That's emotion, right? No, it's not. Those are actual stats in games that he legitimately played in. And then in the last 4 games of the season, which were also very important, in the month of April, he continued that pace. His scoring was at 12 a game. His minutes were down by 3 to 21, but he was shot 62.5% from 3. He shot 59% from the field again. He was also defending routinely the opposing player's best offensive weapons because Kerr started using him in that role because Kuminga accepted it. He was like, all right, if I'm gonna play on this team, I'm gonna have to bring tenacity and guard the other team's best players. And he was doing it efficiently. I didn't hear one complaint. And he's rewarded for that with DNPs. It's fucking absurd, man. It's absolutely absurd.
If I'm Kuminga, a young guy, now let's say a couple of things. First of all, practice matters. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Kerr is very stubborn. He is. He's brilliant, but he's stubborn. Like 90% of all coaches are very stubborn. 90%. All right. Now, Kerr's won a lot of games. He just won an opening series against Sacramento. So he's done some things well, right? One of the best coached games I've seen him coach in Game 7. Now.
Wait, Frank. Steph's 50 points. That's well coached. Like that was
he
rides coattails, man. He rides coattails.
He
rides coattails.
Listen. I mean, you and I could do 2 hours on how well he coached Game 7. Maybe we will at some point. But my point is, if I'm Kuminga, I'm with you. I'm feeling really upset that I don't get an opportunity to get on the floor. All right? So there's really no excuse for that. All right? I don't care if it's guard, forward, center. I'm like, Coach, I'll play center. Put me in. Give me a chance, Coach.
He would.
We haven't seen that, right? We haven't seen that. So
how do you know we haven't seen that? How do you know that, though? Why do you say that?
No. We haven't seen him on the floor.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
That's what I mean. So, I mean, I hear your frustration. I hear all Warriors' frustration. And I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Hopefully, he'll get a chance to play in Game 2.
He will.
But there's a numbers game.
Frank,
There's a numbers game.
You coached. Carl, you've coached a little bit. I talk to my brother all the time.
I've coached too, Dan, just so you know.
As a coach. And he's always said.
We all coached.
We all coached, yeah.
Yeah, my brother's won over 600 games in college basketball.
I won 750 at Mission Dolores. I coached a fourth grade team for 17 seasons.
My point is
they were cooking Mama Celeste pizza in the background, but that does not discount anything.
That's right.
They were huge wins.
Those are huge wins, and
the smell of a burning Mama Celeste makes me think of
this young Montana guy. He's driving me insane, dude. And all he does is fucking attack me. Like, can you please block him or tell him to shut the fuck up? Because
who's that? A little much, Joe Montana.
This guy's handle is Young Montana, which is an insult to the great Joe Montana. First of all, and secondly, all he does is fucking just talk shit, and it's It's enough. Either shut the fuck up or get blocked, please. Like, come on, man.
Anyway, as a coach, my point is that a coach is going to play a guy if he thinks he can help him win, and he's not going to play him if he doesn't have the confidence or faith in him that he's not going to screw things up.
Sometimes it's on the coach, though. Sometimes it's on the coach. Coaches have to go against their tendencies because, Dan, you're absolutely right. But here's the deal. We would not have known that Moody could play unless he put Moody in the game.
Exactly. Thank you, Frank.
And he
but a lot of that's in practice, though. Like you said, you see what's going on in practice.
Dan, they barely practice. They're not practicing at all right
now.
They're
just walking through at this point.
Yeah, no, it's like good to add to that for the regular season. Like when that video got leaked, the punch. They cut out most practices this year. Like they did. This has been the least practiced team in the dynasty this year.
Yeah.
And largely it's because because they're old as fuck. So that they didn't really feel the need for it. But B, they this lack of trust was very serious, man. And they were afraid that like things were getting leaked out left and right. They did not practice that much this year. True, that is gone on as truth, man.
Yeah. I mean, I do think Kuminga. Like I said earlier before you got on, I'd like to see him get at least 5-minute run, see what he can do. If he makes a difference, you can give him extended more minutes. But because I think they're going to need him at some point to be able to come in from the wings and guys that are driving, dish it to Kuminga, who's strong enough, athletic enough to go up and not get his shot blocked, who can either throw it down or, put it off the backboard, with his long reach that he can scoop it up off the board, because they don't have the guys that can take it to Anthony Davis right now and Kuminga would be one of those guys. And I think it's, you're going to have to give him a shot to see if he can do it. And, if
put him
he
in the
can't,
game.
That's what you're gonna have to find out. You're gonna have to find out, and you can, if you set certain plays for him, like that, get guys to drive to the hoop and then dish it to Kuminga cutting. Then you got something going. Don't take it to the hoop by yourself. Jordan Poole, I mean, that one shot he threw with his left hand, he threw it over his shoulder on, like he was going to because he couldn't take it straight to the hoop with his right hand because he was going to get smoked. So he just comes up with some crazy shot over his left shoulder and flings it up there like a prayer. I mean, you can't do that. You got to be able to dish off. Those small guys can't take it to Anthony Davis. Even Curry got a shot blocked at the end of the game.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
The one thing that does define Kerr, I think, is that he brings the whole group along. But now the Kuminga thing, in my opinion, has kind of flown in the face of that. Mm-hmm. He's left him behind here. And now they need him because their bench is short. I mean, look at their bench right now. Mm-hmm. Jermichael Green's not giving them much. Peyton, we've already discussed, doesn't quite look like GP2 from a year ago. DiVincenzo has been in like a 7 or 8 game funk where he's giving them less and less and less and less almost every time out. Poole is mercurial at times, but as I think Cy said it best, he thinks he's Steph Curry. You're not Steph Curry. But you are Steph Curry from the foul line. So get to the fucking foul line.
Yes.
Seriously, you are Steph Curry from the foul line. You shot 1 free throw. Get to the foul line.
Yes.
So there needs to be some hard conversations with Jordan Poole about what he does well, what he does pretty well, and what he needs to do going forward. And then Kerr's got to me, they are not doing this without Moody and Kuminga. So either figure out some role for those guys and get some use out of them, or you're going down because Denver's got an entire roster full of guys in their prime. And this Laker team's got tremendous size. And you've got 2 long, young lottery picks who are athletic and ready to contribute. And here we are, it's May the 2nd, and you haven't brought Kuminga along, and Moody has no defined role. And it's like you're going to expect to do this with 0 from Kuminga, 0 from Moody, 0 from DiVincenzo, not much from GP2, not much from Jermichael Green. I mean, come on. Steph Curry's great. He can't go for 50 every night and carry the team. They got to figure out a way to use the players they have instead of just sitting them there out of like, you know what, we can't trust you, you're banished. Well, trust them or not, but you're going down if you don't. You're not going to be able to get by Denver. You may not be able to get out of this series. Now, is Game 2 a must-win for Golden State, or can they go down 0-2 and go to LA and still have a shot?
No, it's in my opinion, because Sacramento was different because they lost 2 on the road and they came back, 2 at home. They go down 0-2. They're going to have to, obviously get 1 in LA just to keep the series alive. They won't get 2 in LA, 3 and 4. I think they can get 1. I think they can win Game 2. And as Carl said, if they can go in and steal Game 3, turn the momentum of the series completely around. But you want to come back to San Francisco at worst 2-2.
How important is Game 2 for you guys? I mean, is it a must-win, Cy? Carl, Red, how do you guys see Game 2?
I want to say must, just because this Warriors team. I feel like if any team can overcome an 0-2 deficit, it's this team, right? I mean, I'm not worried about their road performances after winning those 2 games in Sacramento. LA does not have the same energy in that Sacramento did, right? I mean, I don't. It's not quite as imposing of an environment. Do you want to be down 0-2? Fuck no. I mean, that's absolutely the last thing you want when you have home court advantage. But I wouldn't say it's over. You know what I'm saying? 3-0, yes. 3-0, you're fucking done. But 2-0, I could see the Warriors winning Game 3 and just all of a sudden making it a series. But here's why part of the reason I'm so frustrated, and let me know if you folks agree with this or not. The Warriors to me look like the better team. They look like a superior team out there. The Lakers had to play Anthony Davis 43 minutes and LeBron James 40 minutes. They can't keep doing that the whole series. That's not sustainable, man. One of those 2 guys will get hurt, considering they're playing every other day for the whole series. But it's just frustrating that the Warriors, I see a better team. You just have to play your best players. And like you said, Jermichael Green hasn't been delivering. I think he's actually been good in the postseason. We haven't seen him much, but in his 8 minutes tonight, he wasn't a detriment out there. And in game 3 against the Kings, he was actually solid. I wouldn't mind seeing more Jermichael, man. Jermichael spaces the floor too. He was 2 for 4 from beyond the arc tonight. So he's not a big who on the offensive side of things is a massive liability. Teams can't leave him alone, sitting out there in the 3-point line. So if he sits out there, he stretches the floor, and he's not a bad player near the rim. I would like to see more Jermichael. I at a minimum, do that. Play him more. I mean, besides Kuminga. But to answer your question, I don't think 2-0 is the end of the world, but who wants that, right?
What do you guys think? Mark Hope says, Larry, I thought it was Steph Curry, LOL. We got this one from Yo. Just
Yo.
Just you know what? just $2. Just I'm here.
Hey man,
Yo,
you have money.
Peace. Throwing me a deuce there. What do you guys think? I mean, what's the level of urgency going into game 2 for Golden State? Carl, Frank, Danny?
On a level of 1 to 10, game 2 winning is a 9.5.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with just the ethos of how you want to approach going on the road. Because when you get to the semifinals, you can't afford to go on the road where you could be dead by the time you would try to come back. So game 2 is the swing. It's the swing of, hey, we're going to have a great series, or the Warriors, unfortunately, are probably going to lose this series, which means a whole bunch of other things could potentially happen come the offseason, which we know they don't want. And I think you can expect, if you got a triple-double from Draymond Green on Thursday, I would absolutely not be surprised. I think he's a wounded Warrior right now. He's going to go back. He's going to look at film. He's going to look at some things that they could do better as a group offensively and defensively. He's going to take a lot of personal responsibility for this loss tonight. And I think he comes out and has a monster game. I'm going to say one last thing about the Warrior bench. When you get to the 16, not the 82, it's not about your minutes and what you produce. It's about who can you produce with. What group of players can you produce with? Because we know the starters' minutes are going to go up. And they go up because those are the guys that the defense is fearing. They're not going to fear Moses Moody being on the floor for 20 minutes. I'm not discounting Moses. He's a nice, solid player. He always plays hard. But if you really look at his stat line tonight, he didn't take a shot. He played 6 minutes. He grabbed 1 rebound. He had 1 assist. I mean, he didn't make a mistake. He didn't hurt you at all. But he didn't do anything that you go, wow, look what he did in 6 minutes. They have to find a way to find each game how they're going to piece it. I think you're going to see Kuminga some in game 2 because I think they're going to try to figure out where the unique places where he can help us. But as Jonathan Kuminga, he has to go into that game and forget about what Larry was talking about. Forget about all the other stuff that he might be carrying. He can only be focused on one thing. I got to stink and produce in the role that I'm given. And if he does that, he'll get more rope. And if he gets more rope, he has to keep performing because at the end of the day, this is the season. It's not Denver. It's not if they play Phoenix or what they might do against an Eastern Conference team. If they don't win 4 games, they're done. And this whole franchise could potentially look very different come next season. So that's my focus.
Yeah, I think game 2 is at least a 9. I don't want to say quite a 10 because they obviously have to win the winner of the series has to win 4 games. But it's critical, and I'm going to tell you why it's critical. Because the Lakers are the smartest team that the Warriors have played thus far.
Mm-hmm.
And no team is smarter than the Golden State Warriors, in my opinion. And, Boston Celtics are probably number 2 or the number 3. I would put the Lakers probably number 2. So the Lakers are not going to just fall off the earth and just have a abysmal game mentally. So you got to beat them. And if they're playing at home, it's even easier for them to play at home because Jack's on the sideline and all those celebrities. So the Warriors got to get game 2 on Thursday. And I have a lot of confidence in the Warriors coaches to make adjustments because they always do. With that said, What can you lose by putting your young guys in at the start of the game? Nothing. So put them in with an emphasis on running and getting the ball up and down the court, and then let the players decide whether or not they should play. Don't have fans and people talking on YouTube thinking about whether or not they should get a run. Put them out there to see what they can do. So.
Yo says Kuminga was our second best bench player all year. This one's kind of interesting. Kapler is dead says, I just want Wiggins to step up. We've been talking about a lot of different people. It seems like Wiggins just blends. Have you noticed that? Mm-hmm. He blends into the background. We never really talk about Wiggins. Wiggins was 1 for 5 from 3. He played 34 minutes, 6 of 14. He's not rebounding anywhere close to the way he rebounded last year in the playoffs. I think that's been a factor. He's a guy in the prime of his career. In theory, Clay's a little older. Curry's a little older. Green's a little older. Wiggins should be the guy who kind of takes it over because you got you got Poole and Moody and Kuminga are a little tad on the young side. You got some guys with some age. The guys in their prime on this team right now are DiVincenzo and Wiggins. Maybe a little bit of Peyton.
Wiggins guarded LeBron tonight, so I mean, he had his hands full, and LeBron didn't have a great game. I mean,
right.
So he did okay there. I hear what you're saying though. Like, if the Warriors are going to be successful and win a championship, Wiggins has to be like noticed. Like
doesn't he have to be more of a factor from 3?
Yeah, yes, agreed.
I mean, 1 of 5 from 3.
They're definitely going to have to step it up. Somebody's going to have to step it up because, to me, it looks like their strategy in this series is let somebody else other than Steph beat you.
Which is after the last series, pretty damn smart game plan, right? I mean, that would be my game plan too.
Yeah, I mean, they were hounding him. Vanderbilt's in his just hounding him, and Steph is great at getting, but Vanderbilt's quick and lengthy, and that's that's the biggest problem. Steph has guys that are with length because, and then if he gets by him, then you got Davis just camping down there in the lane waiting for him. So they're going to have other guys hit their shots. DiVincenzo's going to have to hit his threes. Wiggins is going to have to hit his threes. Poole, Clay. I mean, those 3 guys got 6 tonight each. Poole and Clay got 6 tonight. But Wiggins is going to have to pick up his shot. And, I would like to see Wiggins go to the hoop a little bit more aggressive because he's the one guy I think that can go in and instead of settling for the 3, go all the way in and he gets high enough up that maybe he can get Davis into some foul trouble.
But not tonight. Not tonight though. He tried a few times and Davis just got him.
I know.
What the Lakers did, which is brilliant, I think, is they saw that Kings series, and what they saw is they saw a Warriors team that was getting a lot of easy buckets, right? Like all the Warriors had to do was get maybe one extra cut, and you got easy layup after easy layup, easy bucket after easy bucket. So the Lakers tonight decided, you know what, we're not going to let that happen, but you can take all the threes you want. And so the Warriors had 53 3-point attempts, and if you take away Steph's 13, that means 40 3-point attempts from the other players. And it was a colossal letdown if you take Steph out of the equation. Jordan Poole was good, 6 for 11, except for that last one. But Wiggins was 1 for 5. Draymond shot one, was 0 for 1. Clay had a great first half, but then was 2 for 9 in the second half, finished 6 for 16. Gary Payne II was 0 for 2. DiVincenzo was 0 for 1. Jermichael Green was the only other one that was successful. He was 2 for 4. The point is they took the easy buckets away. They forced the Warriors to shoot these threes. And the Warriors couldn't get those easy buckets because they're so damn small that every time they try to attack the paint, Davis or LeBron or Vanderbilt were just blocking them or challenging the shots and making them difficult. And I think that's one way to overcome that is to play bigger players like Kuminga, like Jermichael, like Moody, who even though he's 6'5", has a 7'1" wingspan and he's shown he can attack the paint. And so this is where like athleticism and size matters. I mean, this is basketball. It's like, of all the sports, man, where height matters, this is the one. And the Warriors are tiny out there, and it's showing. So I do hope the adjustment in game 2 is to play some of your larger players, your bigger, more athletic players. So, sorry.
We welcome in our friend Sean Proctor, who's one of our listeners and one of our watchers. And
What's going
Sean,
on?
welcome to the mix. You got Dan Coach Emilio up top, Frank Red, Cyrus Satsis, the great Carl Foster's in the house. Carl's added a lot to the conversation tonight. Danny, not as much. No, I'm just kidding. But good to see you, Sean. Give us a fan's perspective on what you saw and what you want to see.
I mean, I was pretty confident that the Lakers were going to win this game, partly because of the 7-game series, just the stress that they went through in that 7-game series. I know the travel wasn't much, but I thought the Lakers were going to win. I'm not really worried about the series. I think the Warriors still win this series. The Lakers played a pretty good game. Obviously, AD was dominant. He's been alternating dominant games with shit games this entire postseason and actually previous postseasons. He doesn't normally show up for a full series every single game. So I'm not really worried about him coming out and grabbing 24 boards or 23 boards and, dominating the paint like that. So, and as the series goes on, he's also not going to be playing, 40 plus minutes every single game. I think he's just one little step away from getting injured. I mean, he goes down on the court nonstop anyways. So just one step and AD's out. And then just look at the Laker team without AD, right? So that's a real possibility. But AD is a problem. So if he plays that way, like he did tonight, the rest of the series, then the Warriors are going to lose. I just don't think that's going to happen. And LeBron looked old. LeBron looked really old tonight.
Or hurt.
He's definitely hurt. Yeah. He's got the foot problem, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've some Laker fans in the chat before were saying, "Hey, the foot's not a problem at this point. It's just that he's not shooting the three." But I think they're cause and effect right there. I think the foot is bothering his three. He's not getting he doesn't get the push off his three. I think that's a big part right there.
Yeah.
Nobody knows LeBron better in this chat than Carl Foster. I was going to say who Carl coached him in the AAU program years ago. He played for the Oakland Soldiers. Carl, you've got a pretty good perspective on LeBron and have for years. What are you seeing out there? What percentage of LeBron is left in the tank here in May of his whatever it is 20th season or whatever season this is for him? I mean, if he were a car, he's got about 295,000 miles on him.
Yeah, but he's a Ferrari, so he can handle it. The biggest thing is watching LeBron play now is like watching Tom Brady quarterback a football team. He knows exactly when to push and when to pull back. He didn't foul tonight. He took some deep tray balls, which didn't take a lot out of his legs because he's not getting a ton of lift on his jumper. But whenever he needed to explode to the basket, he did it. He had a couple of back down buckets. Those things are really, really critical. Plus, he knows how to make the next pass. We know that. He's going to make sure that they run the offense that they believe in their game plan that they can do. So his brain is always at 100. So even if his body's, let's say, at 87, with his brain at 100, it makes him a much better player than most people that are going to play. And I'm going to continue to disagree with the Anthony Davis piece from this standpoint. If you get Dennis Schroeder to finish with 12 and D'Lo has 15, the Warriors win the game. They gave Dennis Schroeder 10 free throws. Take away the things you can take away. You're not taking away Anthony Davis. Just like in reality, until De'Aaron Fox got hurt, they weren't going to take away De'Aaron Fox. Great players eventually are going to play great. But the job is to try to get the players who should not be damaging you as much to slow them down. So I think in game 2, you're going to have to see a better execution of being focused on the guys that Darvin Ham is going to count on, which is his main 6. And this whole conversation about bench, it's going to be which bench doesn't make mistakes.
Let's say this though, Carl. Which guards have the Warriors guards stopped? They haven't stopped anybody. I mean, they contained Monk. Monk went crazy. All right.
On a couple of games.
Yeah, but the Warrior guards have not stopped anybody. I mean, I don't like to see Schroeder scoring 19. I don't want to see D'Angelo Russell scoring 19. Yeah, maybe keep him under 15. Maybe the Warriors still win. But AD is the hub. He's the guy who you have to stop. Think about it. He had 23 in the first half. He had 31 in the game. The Warriors didn't do anything in the second half to stop him. They just they didn't go to him as much. He could have had 40.
He was also tired. He was super tired.
Well, he didn't look tired blocking the shots. He was bending over, but defensively, he didn't look tired to me.
No. And I think 29-6 on the free throw discrepancy is a problem. That's they're at home, right? Warriors play at home tonight, right?
Well, 6 free throw attempts is just a problem. 6.
I mean, that's outrageous. I respectfully disagree that LeBron didn't foul. He fouled Steph 2 or 3 times, actually. They just didn't call it.
Hey,
guys, incredible. Oh, go ahead, Danny.
Somebody in the chat mentioned, I think it was Smitty or something, about Draymond. Is he just 1 T away from being suspended now for a game?
I feel like we would have heard more of that if that's true. I don't know though.
I thought it was 2, but you might be right on that. I want to see Green dial up the anger and the intensity that he had in the last series and this series.
He almost got kicked out. He almost got kicked out tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he seriously was letting the officials have an earful at one point.
Yeah, Ed Malloy.
Yeah. Guys, good stuff. We're almost 2 hours in. It's almost midnight. I'm going to let people out right here who need to get out because I know it's a big day of work for a lot of people. So anybody who needs to jet, feel free. Great stuff tonight. Thanks for stopping by. Warriors go what? We're off. They're off Wednesday. They go Thursday. So it's a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule.
Yeah,
so
it continues Monday. It's just 2 days. The whole series. It's weird.
Monday we're going to be through 4. It's crazy.
That's why you need to run. You need to run LeBron and AD up and down the court.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
All the more reason for Kuminga, in my opinion, actually.
Agreed. And here's another reason why I'm still very confident and why I do call the Warriors a better team. Steph is going to figure this out. Like Steph is going to figure out. Like I just Jared Vanderbilt, Dennis Schroeder. Like these aren't going to be the 2 individuals that shut Steph down. Like Steph is going to figure these dudes out, just like he figured out. Davion Mitchell the last round, and what was the other guy? Davis. I already forgot his name.
Terrence Davis.
Terrence Davis.
He's going to start. Yeah, Terrence Davis. Thank you. He's going to start eating these dudes alive. I really do believe that.
Hey, he's figured out all these guys. He's figured out
exactly
the kid. What was the kid from St. Mary's, Cleveland? I'm forgetting his name.
Dellavedova.
Dellavedova. He figured him out after a game or 2. He's figured out
the staff stopper.
All these guys. Yeah,
Marcus Smart.
Hey,
I'm a breakout, gentlemen.
Red, good to see you. Maybe we'll see you Thursday night. Thanks, Frank. Have a good night.
I'm going to head out too, Larry. Some of us got to work for a living.
All right, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here, Coach Emilio. God damn it.
When I was watching the Kings series, it felt from a Warriors perspective, and it felt uneasy the entire series. Every game, every second of that series, I thought there's a chance they could lose this.
Oh, there's
watching
no
the game tonight. I don't think the Warriors are going to lose this series. I don't think the Lakers.
I don't either, but then we'll get JD's thoughts in here, and he's hanging out in the green room right now, eating all of our food. I see billowing smoke underneath the green room door. JD, you can't. This is California. There's laws about that. You can't smoke in the green room. Carl, great stuff, man. I saw you kind of pseudo wave there. Dude, I'm so happy that you've joined us, and please come back because, as you saw in the chat, many people were like, "Dude, Carl is awesome talking ball," and man, we've been chopping it up talking ball for years. And I love that you're here with us, man. So any night that you can make it, man, you got the standing invite to join us. We'd love to. And one of these nights, we got to get you to do a little ditty on that grand piano back there, because I know you can really, you can give it, you can entertain. You're like the guy at Nordstrom's, who's just sitting there. Carl, good stuff. You got a final thought on your way out?
Oh, I want to hang on until JD shows up. I love him.
Oh, okay. Oh, hang. No, I'm not kicking you out. JD's in the house. Anybody else need to go, or can you guys hang?
No, let's hang.
And like that, JD
has
been joining the mix. All right, so does everybody know everybody? That's Larry Krueger in the top left. No, that's Carl Foster, top front, top middle, in that kind of smoky room up top with a goatee. That's Cyrus Satsis. That man's not just a Warrior fan; he's locked on Warriors. And then we've got Sean Proctor on the bottom.
What's up, JD?
He brought us our most uncomfortable Krug Show moment when he called out Ryan as a cheater in fantasy football as the commissioner in a live stream. It's epic stuff. Go back and research it. But we bring in JD of 95.7 The Game fame. JD, I think, in my opinion, is my favorite Warrior analyst at the radio station, though there are many, actually. They're all pretty good, but JD is in my mind, the best. Matt Nahagian, are you listening? JD is the best. JD, give us your thoughts, man, before you and Cy fight. No, I mean before we continue on.
No, I'm sure you guys have talked about it for the last couple of hours, but we've
been talking about DeSclafani's curveball. No,
he had it going tonight.
He had it going tonight.
He had it going tonight, making it dance. No, it was such an interesting game in that. You look at the points in the paint for the Lakers and the free throws, and that winds up being a bigger deal than the Warriors outscoring the Lakers by 45 points from three. It's incredible to look at. 63-18, the advantage the Warriors had in terms of 3-point makes and points on the board. But the Lakers, with points in the paint and getting to the free throw line, they completely offset it. They wind up a +1 all told because they dominated in that fashion. And it really started with Anthony Davis. And so, the Warriors have a little bit of an Anthony Davis problem right now. And, is it going smaller that could maybe help, run the Lakers a little bit? They had some success with that. They had a little bit of success with a zone. I think you can always double Anthony Davis, but I thought the Warriors' inability to finish in the paint, the Lakers dominating in the paint and getting to the free throw line, that was the story of the game. In addition to the Warriors' ability to get good 3-point looks, almost too many good 3-point looks, to where they maybe took a few more than you would like, but they weren't finishing in the paint either. So that's just kind of the general, I think, starting point before maybe we get into individual players and what they can go and do moving forward.
One super chat I want your guys' thoughts on. 808 Niner said Kerr has to take blame for not playing Kuminga and Moody during the season and getting them ready for now. Lamb and Jerome were okay, but they still finished 6th. Okay, this has been an ongoing debate all year. I don't want to launch into a value of Kuminga. JD's on record as saying that he thinks Kuminga not playing was one of the keys to the last round. Cy's on record as saying that he wants Kerr to play Kuminga. We don't need to battle it out. But this has been a overarching theme to this season. Kerr opted to play the two-way guys at I would imagine the theory was we're going for wins. We're not worried about the development. We're going for wins. It didn't get him a ton of wins. Then we got to a point where Jerome's not on the, not eligible to play anymore. Lamb's there, but at the expense of Kuminga and Moody's development. Though, despite that, we still saw Kuminga and Moody start to emerge very late in the year. Then Kuminga didn't look good in the first round. Now it seems like we're at a point where Moody has a little bit of Steve's belief. Jonathan has lost that belief. And that's where we're at. And the Warriors are looking now with DiVincenzo regressing and with Poole being up and down like they don't have enough weapons, like they don't have a strong enough bench, like they're getting outgunned. Now, the bench points tonight were even, so it wasn't like they lost because of their bench distribution. But where are you guys, and why don't we start with JD on this. JD, where are you on this opinion from 808 Niner, that Kerr somehow has to take blame for not bringing the young guys along at the expense of the two-way guys, and now here we are in the playoffs, and they kind of need those young guys, and they're not ready to roll. Is
Yeah,
that
I think
on
it's-
Kerr? You think it's false? Go ahead.
I think it's a fair thing to question. I think Steve Kerr's answer is if I had played those guys more, that the Warriors would have won fewer games, and maybe they wouldn't have been sixth. Maybe they would have been a play-in tournament team. Maybe they would have been an 8 seed team. I'm just saying that's his answer. It's fair to ask the question. Without a doubt, I don't think it's necessarily about the two-way guys necessarily as hey, those were the guys. It's just about, carving out specific roles in which, each player can succeed. And I actually think they did that with Kuminga as the season went on. I think, they told him, hey, we want you to be an on-ball defender. We want you to basically only take corner threes. We want you to try and cut and take advantage of the gravity of other players on the floor to basically have your offense made for you, right? You're going to either take a corner three or you're going to cut to where it's always going to be a layup or a dunk off of all of the other offensive action. If you can get a steal, take it the other way and try to look to score that way. I think they carved out a role for Kuminga in that respect. But then, Wiggins came back and they tried to shuffle through who was going to play and who wasn't. And Peyton came back, and they don't view Kuminga as a 3. They view Kuminga as a 4, which, now you've got Wiggins, who is a 3 and sometimes a 4. You've got Peyton, who they view as a 4. And I think Peyton took, there's fewer minutes to go around, period, because of Wiggins being back. But then Peyton took his minutes as a more trusted vet at the 4. And then they kind of got stuck where, we talked about the first series, and I think the first series is its own entity. Like, I know, we battled it out as far as, I thought he was bad enough in game 1 to not play at all in game 2 against the Kings. Kerr went to him and gave him a second chance. He was even worse in game 2. I think he was going to be done with him in game 3 completely, but the Draymond suspension and the Peyton injury gave him a shot in game 3. He was okay in game 3. So he gave him a shot in game 4, and then he was as bad in game 4 as he was in game 2, and that was it. The interesting part of that whole thing, though, is Kuminga faltering or them losing confidence in Kuminga opened the door for Moody. Moody was the guy who started taking Kuminga's minutes in the Kings series, and so Kuminga's inability to contribute actually led to them finding somebody who helped them in that series. So in a way, it was almost a wash, right? Like Kuminga not playing, you can say addition by subtraction in the last series, but it also led Kerr to dust off Moody, who was an impactful, positive player that helped them win that series. He was pretty good and steady at worst, honestly, in that, like, he didn't do really anything that screwed up a game for them in the Kings series. So I think that's why he was in the rotation tonight. And I wonder, because I've said this a few times in the lead up, just as far as Kuminga specifically, on paper, he figures to be somebody that Kerr would give a shot to in the Lakers series. Like, I don't think the fact that I had a view of him in the Kings series necessarily specifically translates to he can't play in the Lakers series by any stretch. His body type, his style of play, I think, is more conducive to playing against the Lakers. Now, where I wonder, at least at the start, if we're still looking at the stat sheet and he's the DMP coach's decision tonight, I wonder if part of that, or how much of that, is now what was reported over the weekend about Steph Curry standing up and, being the leader and saying, hey, I need everybody with me as we go to Sacramento in game 7. And it was Marcus and Shams who, and I'm paraphrasing this, it was, sources say Poole and Kuminga are pouting and upset about lack of playing time. And to me, I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but it's fork in the road. Like, the Warriors still need Poole no matter what. If Kuminga is going to be somebody that's pouting, especially off of the series that he had against the Kings, my opinion aside, our opinions aside, if Kuminga is somebody who was pouting off of that series and pissed off that he's not playing and thinks he's getting a raw deal, then I 100% understand at that point why Steve Kerr would be like, well, you ain't playing. Like, sorry, like, you're mad about, like, so does that mean he's done?
And do we have, there's sources on that, JD, that's indeed.
It was Marcus Thompson and Shams Charania who wrote that. It was in a bigger story about Curry kind of stepping to the forefront and saying, I need everybody on the same page. And the way it was reported was sources say the message was directed specifically at Jordan Poole and Kuminga, who have been pouting about lack of playing time and or role in the Kings series. So it was non-specific on the one
Was
hand.
that the Athletic article?
Yeah, those two were also thrown in specifically as if Curry's message was to them. And so if that's the case, then if you're Steve Kerr, again, I'm not necessarily absolving it, but I understand why he would be more in the doghouse to be a DNP in game one.
And Kerr's stubborn. Kerr's stubborn. He'll just say you're not playing.
So I don't think I'm not saying he's done for this series still. Kuminga specifically, obviously Jordan Poole played better tonight, which the Warriors are going to need. But I'm not surprised. Given everything, I'm not surprised that he didn't play tonight. I get. And one other quick thing just on him, and this was just something that I happened to remember. I think it was the February 24th game or 23rd game. It was the first game out of the All-Star break. The Warriors played in LA. And I think Kuminga started. I want to say Kuminga started that game. And I might be wrong. He was in the game early, and he had 3 wide open. Like the Lakers just refused to guard him on the perimeter. And they left him open, and he took 3 just clank, clank, clank wing threes early in that game. And Kerr took him out. And I remember Kerr kind of saying afterward, he's got to know when to not take that shot and keep the ball moving, do a dribble handoff, figure out that that's a shot that the defense wants you to take. So don't take that shot. And I think, and again, this is just theorizing, as you look at this matchup specifically, I think that's probably a stretch that Kerr remembered, watching the film, could see. On top of everything else, he thought, you know what? I'm not going to throw him out there as somebody that the Lakers made to look so bad in that short sample. Like, I just feel like Kerr thinks it's kind of a perfect storm of, I'm vulnerable to having him out there right now. And
it's a trust, and he doesn't have the trust. He doesn't. I mean, at this point, it's about trust. You got to trust in your guys, and it sounds like. What do you guys, Cy, Sean, Carl? What do you think of what JD's talking about here? That what Shams is reporting, what Thompson's reporting, and how that could be impacting Kerr's bench rotation, really?
You got to look at 2 things. Number one, Steve Kerr doesn't operate in a vacuum. Steve Kerr has assistants. They have support people. They're looking at everything. Like JD just said, they're looking at things on film. They're looking at things that's happening when they're traveling. They're looking at conversations that are happening between players. Don't forget that Andre Iguodala is there, who's a voice of reason and a voice of understanding. He's kind of in a bridge position because he's not playing. And the whole focus of the 16, as Draymond always says, is there's one thing to be built for the 82. There's another thing to be built for the 16. And if you're going to be in the 16, sacrifice has to be in your head. If sacrifice isn't in your head, if you're not thinking about stats and minutes, if that's your focus, you can't help a team get to the championship. Look at the Miami Heat, who are devoid of about 3 guys who we believe should be a big part of their rotation. And yet they still go out and compete every night because guys are ready, because they understand the culture in Miami. And if Jonathan Kuminga is still struggling with the culture of winning at all costs, all focus points, then it's going to be universal that not just Steve's going to feel that way, other people are going to feel that way. And you also have a general manager who we know is connected to this team. So there's a lot to think about. I'm still hopeful that he will see an opportunity to bring some value. It'd be nice if it was in game 2, but if it's not and they win, I could care less, because the objective isn't to satisfy young players. The objective is, how do we move on from this series to the next one, regardless of who the opponent is?
Yeah,
Cy, you've been quiet up there, Cy. You're very respectful.
Marcus Thompson is very connected to Steph. So when I read that story, my thought was that Steph probably told him that himself, because otherwise I don't know how you're deducing that who was targeted, right?
Because it was players only. He wasn't in the room.
Exactly. So he's and that is, look, that's Marcus's golden ticket. Good for him. That's impressive. That's
Great
one
book.
of the best sources you could possibly have. I don't like Larry and JD both viewed, and I'll tell this to anyone else. I don't understand judging a player from playing 3 minutes. And Kuminga's 2 bad games of that Kings series that you both point out, he played 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I don't understand how you can judge someone based on that. The 2 games where he played. Okay, but then Clay was -14. So do you not play Clay now? Or
no. Clay Thompson's a Hall of Famer. He gets the benefit of the doubt.
But he started at some point. Players have to make mistakes. Okay, can I talk without being interrupted? Players have to be given leeway to develop. And Kuminga, in very important games in March and April, the statistics overwhelmingly show, we saw just watching these games, Kuminga was night after night playing big minutes, shooting ball effectively. In game 1, where he played 10 minutes that you say he played awful, he shot 50% from the field, and the Warriors lost that game by only 3. The next night he plays 2 minutes, 3 minutes, they lose by 8. Game 3, he plays 13 minutes, again, shoots the ball great, they win the game in a blowout. I don't understand. I still do not understand where this translation is of Kuminga having these quote unquote bad games when 2 of the games that you say is bad, he played 3 minutes. I don't judge people on a 3-minute sample size. That's ridiculous. But I digress. I haven't seen one thing that Kuminga has done for him to warrant and earn less minutes or to earn this DNP. If it's a pouting thing, then that's I almost feel like that's Kerr's ego kind of getting in the way here. And if you're a great head coach, I don't know why you would let ego and stubbornness and your personal pride get in the way of playing the best players. I almost can understand Kuminga being frustrated. I mean, this is someone who is a number 7 pick in one of the deepest drafts in NBA history. He was starting games, and at this time last year, he was starting games, and now he's getting DNPs. Why? I mean, because for 3 minutes, his plus minus was -8 or 10. I think that's asinine to me. I don't get that.
I mean, okay, so and I don't have the answers, and I'm not going to claim to have sources. But one thing that's perfectly clear to me is that Jonathan's athleticism off the charts, and his feel is borderline, if you want to call it that, inconsistent, if you want to call it that. When you're on the weak side and you're defending a guy who's maybe standing at the 3-point line, and somebody on the other side of the floor is hoisting a 3, and there's not a body between you and the rim, and you don't go to the rim to rebound the basketball, that's a real problem. And I've seen that 5 times from Jonathan.
I saw it once, and it was for an offensive.
Well, no, I'm talking about 5. I'm just talking about in the last 2 months of the year. His feel for the rebounding, and I don't know if they haven't made it a point of emphasis enough or what, but it's not a natural feel. He doesn't have a natural feel to rebound the basketball. He has all the gifts in the world to rebound out of his space.
Larry?
Yeah,
Larry, can I respond to that? Because the criticism always seems to be rebounding. Per 36, he averages more rebounds than Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, PJ Tucker.
I hear what you're saying, but go pull out the game log of the last 3 weeks, and there's countless examples of him playing.
I have it right now.
Over 8. Yeah, there's a lot of examples there of him playing over 8 or 9 minutes and grabbing 3 rebounds or less.
Well, yeah. So in the regular season, 24 minutes, 7 rebounds, 19 minutes, 1 rebound. I agree that's bad. 20 minutes, 8 rebounds. I'd say that's pretty good. One rebound in a 23-minute game, 8 rebounds in a 27-minute game.
But let's just go back from where we're at now back.
Okay.
I would say that what we're seeing, Cy, is multiple games where he's playing good minutes and maybe doing some good things, but not rebounding. And they really could use him to rebound. I also think
but he's also defending, like JD said the last time. He's often defensively, and that's a huge reason why he was getting minutes. Defensively, he's often defending perimeter players. He's defending the John Morants. And
right.
And
But I mean, if nobody's bodying you up, you got to go to the glass.
I agree,
You
but
got to
he's
go to the
also not
glass.
he's not always in a position to get those rebounds either. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not there to box out. He's so far away from the rim. He's already running back.
I think what I'm talking about, Cy, though, is not. It's not a consistent. I think the one thing about Kuminga is he's so frustrating because there's not a consistent night after night picture. We don't know, and Steve doesn't know what he's getting from Kuminga, and I think he's more than willing to go. He'd rather go with. I think he'd because he's leaned towards Anthony Lamb a lot this year, and I think if you say why is he leaning on Lamb more than Kuminga, if you asked Steve and we pushed him and he was sitting right here, I think he would say, Krug, you know what? I just know what I'm getting from Lamb, and I want to know what I'm getting from Kuminga. That's my sense of it.
I don't know why he I don't know where you're coming up with, like, you don't know what you're getting from him. Like
because his performances are variable. Sometimes he rebounds well, sometimes he doesn't rebound well.
Not when he gets minutes. When he gets 20, 25 minutes a night, it is consistent. If you're judging a player on 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know how you can count on anybody being consistent in a role.
No, I hear you. You need to have some consistent run.
Here's the bigger problem with Kuminga, and this is where I think the ultimate problem is. Steve Kerr looks at Kuminga and sees a player who can service this team if he plays like a power forward center type role. I don't think Kuminga is that guy. To me, Kuminga is a 3. To me, if we're going to label positions, and I
think he's a future 3. I really believe he's a future 3. That if you're really unbiased, you would say he's really more of a in his best ball right now. I think he's a 4 or a small ball 5. I honestly believe that.
But that's not who he is, though.
I know that he's drafted to be a 3.
It's not who he wants to be. I'll
No.
say that. He wants to be Kawhi. He wants to be Paul George, and I think that's where the disconnect is. The disconnect is the Warriors don't want him to be that because they have other players that play that position, mainly Andrew Wiggins right now. And that's not the key to, like, they want him to be somebody that can help them now. And he ain't going to help them. His handle isn't good enough. Like, I think there's a disconnect where, like, he sees himself on the wing, putting it on the deck in ISO and hitting pull-up jumpers. And that's great that but his handle is nowhere near good enough to do that with any regularity. Now, could it be in a couple of years if he works on his game? Sure. I'm not even going to say he can't be a 3. He can't be a 3 right now, but in a couple of years, maybe he can be a really good 3. But he's got to work on his handle to do it. I think we're touching on the disconnect between him and the coaching staff. I agree with you. He looks at himself as, I was the 7th pick. I'm better than all these dudes that got picked in front of me and a couple of them that are behind me. I think he thinks that. I think he thinks that he's unappreciated and more talented and could help this team by going out and cooking and being one of the headliners. And I think there's enough people in the fan base that are tantalized by his physical abilities that I think he kind of knows that he's kind of a fan favorite. And I think in a way, the fact that he knows that has made him a little more stubborn to doing the things that the coaching staff wants him to do consistently versus the things that he thinks he should be doing. And I think that's where there's maybe animosity is not the right word, but I'll just keep saying disconnect between it. Well, no, if you're not going to try to be a 4 for us because you really think you're this awesome 3, well, then I'm not playing you at all. Like, I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt to just go out there and work through your mistakes, especially in do or die playoff games.
It's so shit.
Let me just say this. And I think this is really important. And JD brought up a very critical point. Is one of the things when I've dealt with young players, watching guys like Kuminga come up in the AAU world, you watch these guys develop. They don't understand one of the most important things that the NBA is about, and it's about what box do you fit in. Jared Vanderbilt is happy to fit into the box that works for him starting on the Los Angeles Lakers, playing with one of the 3 greatest players of all time, playing with another guy who's clearly a top 75 talent of all time. He is comfortable playing that role. He is not asking to shoot pull-up jumpers. He does not want to put it on the wood and showcase his handle that he does in the off-season when he does workouts. He's comfortable with that. When you're not comfortable with that, there's this, I'll use the term disconnect that JD used. There's a disconnect between what leadership is asking for and what you want to do. It's like your kids. You don't care what your kids want to do because you know what they need to do. And if they do what they need to do, you'll let them do some stuff they want to do in situations where it works, i.e. regular season. This ain't the regular season, Jack. And if it's not the regular season, fit into the box that they need. He's not taking minutes from Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins was an all-star caliber player last year and was one of the 2 best players on the team last year when they won a championship with his performance as a two-way player. And yet he doesn't try to go out of his box much because he recognizes 2 of the greatest shooters to ever put on sneakers play next to me. Those are the things you have to come to grips with. And when young players don't, coaches lose trust. They don't lose trust because they don't like you. They don't lose trust because they don't want to win. They lose trust because they need buy-in. It's 100%. If you're not at 100% buy-in, you're of no value. And if you stay of no value, you won't be on the franchise.
We're making it sucks that we don't really know the answers. Like we're making so many assumptions here. Like we're
not making assumptions though. What we're saying is
I get it. I get what you're saying. But I will say this: if I'm Jonathan Kuminga, and like his minutes went up every month, right? Like when he played in November, I think he was averaging like 10 minutes a game, and then it went to like 18 in December. Then he was 22 in January and February. Then and March, and then went up to 25. I'm sorry, and in February, and then March went up to 25. So throughout the season, his minutes went up, his shooting improved. Like there isn't a single measurable. Like he doesn't turn the ball over. He does, and I actually think his handles improved. Like I don't know if you guys remember, like last summer league, they were playing Kuminga oddly as a point guard because they wanted his handles to improve, right? So he can take on a bigger role. And he doesn't turn the ball over. I know, like if you look at him visually, his shot looks a little weird. Like to me, his shot is identical to Jimmy Chitwood from the movie Hoosiers. Like it actually is amazing form. I think he has a beautiful shot. And I don't see like the handles look weird. Like it's not fast. He's not a crossover type of guy, but he doesn't turn the ball over either. He's serviceable bringing the ball up the court. If I'm Kuminga and I'm shooting the ball 53%, I'm hitting 37% of my threes. I don't turn the ball over. In every game where I play a lot, my team's winning. Just look at the game log, like ESPN.com. Look at Jonathan Kuminga. Look at the game log. In every game where he's actually playing 25 plus minutes, he's giving you 15, 20 points a game. He's giving you those 5+ rebounds per game. And in his mind, I bet he's thinking, what the fuck am I doing wrong here? I agree with you, Carl, in the sense that when it comes to the postseason, it's about the team, right? You got to make sacrifices. But to get DNPs, that's fucking extreme. I think that's a very extreme move on Kerr's part. And I do think, as from Steve Kerr's perspective, he could handle this better too. Because if your player is disgruntled right now, and he's one of your only big athletic players on your bench, who's not like a 6'4" fucking point guard, a player you need, I will say this with conviction. This Warriors team will not win the title this year if Jonathan Kuminga is not implemented somehow. They need him. They need his athleticism and his size. If you don't figure that out, there is no title. You're not getting past Denver.
Can the player figure that out?
Well, he's 20. He's a kid, man. So the coach has to bear some responsibility here. Why are you absolving Kerr? Kerr is not an infallible god, man. He's a fucking human being who routinely makes mistakes. There should be some impetus on the head coach here as well to figure this shit out and make your player happy too. You know, like I don't think the coach should just be like some dictator where like the players have to kiss his ass and fucking do everything he says. There has to be a two-way street here. That's me. I don't know.
And I'll just finish with this. One of the beautiful things about the game is looking back at history. Like you mentioned 2 players that Jonathan Kuminga, a lot of people compare him to. Kawhi Leonard. The Paul George comparison should not be done because Paul George was a wing his whole life. Kawhi Leonard was a power forward in college, power forward when he was young, who, when he went to the Spurs as a young player, played the role that they asked him to play, be a dominant defensive player, be a guy who scores around the basket, set great screens, and be an incredible teammate and don't say much. He still doesn't say much, but he just scores a lot more. and he worked on his game. And as more opportunity presented itself, as the old guard went out, he took on a larger role. I believe Jonathan Kuminga, if he continues to work and develops both mentally, emotionally, and physically, can become an all-star caliber player and an outstanding two-way player. Hey, Jimmy Butler pulled it off. He didn't come in the league as an elite player. But there comes a time when you have to realize and read the room, where can I bring the most value? And if right now that's where he can bring the most value, he should be trying to be the greatest offensive rebounder outside of Kevon Looney on the roster, a ridiculous defender, and the greatest cheerleader you've ever seen.
Was anyone complaining about Kuminga's defense this year? Because that was a complaint about his, right?
That was the challenge is you can't just look at the regular season. You have to look at, hey, what did they do last postseason?
They won a title with him.
How did they do it? How much did he play? What role did he play?
Well, he was a 19-year-old rookie, but he started games.
And he played the role. And I do believe we're going to see Jonathan Kuminga. They are going to need every puzzle piece on the roster.
I hope so.
Carl, it sounds like you need a jet. Always a pleasure. You're welcome anytime. As you saw from a number of the comments that I put on the board, a lot of people really enjoy your commentary. I have for years. I'll let you get on with your night since it is 12:30. But please come back if you're Thursday night. We'd love to have you back as long as the Warriors keep this alive, man. You got a absolute open invite. I will be texting you later this week, and don't feel obligated if you can't do it. Don't sweat it, but if you can, we'd love to have you, brother. And it's always great to hear your perspective on basketball because I know. You know it on such a great level and have seen it on so many different levels. So I just really appreciate your contribution.
And Carl, when you want to come back on Locked On Warriors, say when, man. I haven't heard from you in a while. So.
Dude, you know what you do, Si. You hit me, I'm there.
Well, nudge me a little bit, man, because you know life, dude. It gets crazy. Every time you've texted me, I've booked you on in like 2 days. So just if you nudge, man, you're on. Otherwise, you have to count on my stony brain to, remember. So
that's it. By the way, JD, I actually have the honor of I've played hoops with Matt Steinmetz probably 50 times.
Okay.
When Matt was in his prime, Matt was Dave Twardzik.
He took Todd Fuller over Kobe Bryant?
No. He was not. He was very gritty, really smart, never took a bad shot, competitive as stink, just as feisty as he seems on radio. And I actually saw Guru play when he was coming up too.
Who's better?
Better player. Guru was pretty good. Matt's intellect you'd rather play with Matt.
Matt has these calves that are massively huge. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah. He made good decisions with the ball, really good in pick and roll, would push it up the wing, and he could hit a clutch shot. He's an East Coast guy. He plays like an East Coast guy.
There you go. PA guy.
I like that, Carl.
Carl, good stuff, man. Have a great night.
Hey, Carl.
Later.
Peace.
There you go. The great Carl Foster. We've been friends for a while. And Dave Twardzik. That was a great reference right there.
I'm not old enough to remember him as a player, though. Twardzik. Was he good, Larry?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy. I was born in 1970. 808 Niner says the only reason he played them was because he had to. Everybody was hurt, and he had nobody else to play. Kuminga got hurt, and I guess that hurt his development. We'd have to go up to Kerr and really talk to him about what's his perspective because he's not gonna. You're not gonna sound out your guys in the media. I'll say this too, guys. You know what's looking more and more clear? Whether the Warriors win this title or not, man, 95-7 the game. You think 95-7 the game is beating KMBR right now? Wait until this off season when it's just every possible angle. Bob Myers coming or going. Draymond Green coming or going. Is Poole going to be moved? Is Kuminga in the doghouse? Is Kerr coming back? I mean, there's like about JD. I mean, your Warrior show on Saturdays is going to be the highest rated show in the Bay Area because I get a feeling that we are headed towards a very tumultuous time or uncertain time in the Warrior dynasty, and they've got all this attention, all this focus, all this scrutiny. The fans are super into every angle on it, and man, there's going to be some serious angles this offseason, isn't it? Isn't there? I mean, it's going to be a lot to talk about.
No doubt. I mean, and it'll start with Bob Myers. I mean, it'll start with how does this season end, I think, which is, did you get swept by the Lakers? I don't think anybody thinks that's going to happen, but, or did you go on to, lose in the finals in 7 or something like that? I think that's how does it end is sort of the first question. The Bob Myers domino is the next one. I even think there's an in-between domino of if Bob is gone, Steve Kerr's going to be going into the last year of his contract next year. And the one thing everybody knows is when you're going into the last year, you usually you're either being let go or you're getting an extension. 90%
right.
of the time. And so
I think like 100. When's the last lame duck coach that you remember actually coaching? I don't remember one. Do you?
Phil?
Yeah,
Phil
Jackson did it. I think Phil Jackson did it a couple of times.
That's fair. Yeah.
Rick Adelman did it back in Sacramento at the end of that last run, the last time the Kings were good, 17 years ago, as we all learned here over the last couple of weeks.
All right.
But Dusty Baker did it with the Giants before he
NBA. Let's take NBA. But you're right. You found 2. That is a good call. The Phil and Adelman. I didn't know Adelman was on a lame duck.
Yeah, it was. The Kings at that point were big sticklers for. Hey, we didn't fire him. We just didn't renew him. No, you fired him, actually. But that was like it was a huge thing. Like they would get all pissed off if you said they fired him. Like Larry, you remember you were doing some shows in SAC at that point in time. And
the Jeff Petrie era. I mean, those guys, see, people, there was always so many rumors about, is Adelman gone? Petrie and Adelman were together with the Blazers. They were going to be
together.
Yeah, I mean, those guys were teammates. Exactly. That was never. I always felt like people just didn't understand the relationship between Jeff and Rick. That they would even suggest that Rick was moving on. It was like, what? Do you guys know that these guys go back to the 70s and they're tight?
Yeah, in the Twardzik era, right? They probably played with Twardzik as well.
That's
I don't know. It's before my time. Anyway,
yeah.
Kerr, I think, is a sneaky one to kind of get back on topic. And then it's what does Draymond do? And then I think beyond what does Draymond do, does he opt in? Does he opt out? Do they do an extension? Then I think at that point it becomes, okay, how did it end and how do you get better? And I think that's where we'll see who the GM is and all of that. But I think that's where the big 3, basically, Steph, Clay, Draymond, but really Steph, because Draymond kind of carries his own. But if Draymond decides to stay, I think that's where Steph is the guy who really carries all the weight in. Like he could be the one guy that could go into the owner or the new GM or Bob, if he remains, and say, look, we're good enough to win another title, but the only way we can do it is if we trade Jordan Poole and or Jonathan Kuminga, and we have to look at it. And not to bring it back full circle to that. And I'm not saying they should or shouldn't.
I don't care if you do. Yeah, don't.
But I do think but I do think that's going to be a question. Is like, how does this team get better? Poole's now making $30 million a year. Kuminga is a young asset. The Warriors don't have a lot of young assets. Do you look to try and bring somebody, bring a few players back that can fit into a rotation that the older players trust? Because I think the other part of this is we talk a lot about Kerr, and that's fair. But I think the other part of this is do the veteran players trust Jordan Poole and or Jonathan Kuminga and or Moses Moody? Because I think Kerr may be taking the bullet in a way for a core that is even less keen on playing them the minutes that some think they should be playing already.
JD, you think they can easily move that Poole contract?
No,
not easily. And I really haven't done a lot of deep looking at who would even be available, but no, it's going to be a lot harder to do now off of this season than it.
Yeah, that's what everyone's like, oh, trade Poole in the offseason.
Well, my boy Connor Letourneau of the Chronicle threw out this idea, which I never heard before, and I love it. Actually, I do love it. I think it's a great idea, and he proposed trading Poole for oh my god, I'm brain farting on the guy. This center for the Wizards, the 7-footer, 7'3", the big dude,
Zinger.
But
Porzingis?
Porzingis, thank you. Yeah,
Kristaps?
like a swap. Their salaries match. Porzingis is an expiring deal next year, so the Wizards would be enticed in that regard, that they wouldn't lose a player for nothing. And the Wizards are.
I need more than the zinger. I need picks.
Wow.
JD, would you go zinger for Poole, or would you want picks?
On the surface, I would keep looking around, but I'd keep looking around. But I think the example is indicative of the fact that you can find other examples too. Like if you really search for them. So I think maybe I don't love that deal specifically, but I think you can start going around the league and finding a lot of players that make 30 million, or it could be 2 players that make 15. Like there's a lot of different ways you can look.
Who want Poole though? Who want Poole, right?
Well, that's true. No, you're right. Somebody would have to. No, there's no doubt. And maybe you have to include somebody else
or pick. Yeah.
And then you take somebody else back, and like you can get creative about it. I don't know ultimately what the Warriors do. Again, I think how the season ends is the starting point. But if there are ways that they're going to try to get better, really their only ways to try and get better, assuming they stay married to the core, would be to look at what they could get for Poole and or potentially what they could get for Kuminga.
The moment tonight that I'll think about when I'm thinking back to this game for the next 24 hours is the final couple sequences, and the one where Poole is shooting a deep three and Curry seemed exasperated by that. Is that overreading? Is that an overreaction by me? It just seemed like Curry looked frustrated, and then Cyrus made the point, and I think it's a correct point, that Poole plays with Curry, and at times he forgets that he is not Curry, and it's like the one thing about Poole that I love is he is Curry at the foul line, but he's not Curry from 3. But he thinks he's Curry from 3, and he forgets that he's Curry at the foul line. And it's like, drive and get to the line, young fella.
Have you noticed he's not getting the calls that he got in the
he never gets calls,
and it's shit swatted too.
No, he's
getting it swatted, but he's also getting 0 calls, and he mugs for calls, and the refs just laugh at him. They're just like, nope, you're not getting that call.
During the regular season, he would drive to the lane, and he would flop or get smashed and land on the ground, and he'd get calls, and he'd go to the free throw line, but he's not getting those in the playoffs.
No,
with these experienced ref crews.
What's your read on the chemistry between Steph and there's the other sequence the other day that Cy had on Twitter where Jordan's coming off, Draymond's trying to corral him to say something to him, he pushes right through him, and then Curry walks up to him on the bench and clearly is in his ear saying something to him. I mean, I'm not there. I'm not the tier 5 media or whatever tier whatever.
Tier one. Are you tier 1, JD?
I am tier 1.
I'm so jealous.
Oh, yeah,
look at you. You're tier 1.
I am tier 1.
You're like You're like the back room at Toots Shores. You're like Joe DiMaggio back in the 40s. Yes, Mr. Dickinson, you can step beyond the velvet ropes. Come on. Oh, excuse me, Krueger. No, you're on the outside. You talk to the bouncer. But what do you think as a tier 1 guy? What do you think?
Well, I think there is some tough love there. Like I think Steph Curry knows they need Jordan Poole, but I also think Jordan Poole does things on the court that drive him freaking nuts. And I don't think the body language read on the shot with 10 seconds left was inaccurate. I mean, I hated the shot in the moment. And then I watched the shot and I thought, you know what, that might be the best shot they were going to get when I watched it back. But then when you watch it back, you also see how pissed off it looked like Curry was. And
do you think he could have taken a couple dribbles and gotten closer to the line?
I mean, maybe, but he also could have got closed out on and then
by Vanderbilt.
And then exactly. And Vanderbilt is really good at that and long. And then at that point, he might throw it away or kick it out of bounds and you don't even get a shot. And so I think he was having a hot night. And, if he hadn't been having a hot night, I think he ends up probably trying to drive and kick in it. And we'll see, we see what happens at that point. But because he was having a hot night, I think he felt empowered at 6 of 10 from 3
But he had taken a shot like that earlier in the game when it was the heat check, right? He had hit like 2 threes, and he's like, I'm just going to launch it from
he turned one
feet.
down. It was funny. He turned one down and then got a good one and then made 2 more.
Yeah.
And then took a bad one. It was like it came full circle. I'm going to take a bad one. No, it led to 3 good ones that he made all 3.
Yep.
And then he took a bad one as the next one,
as the heat check,
as a payback for the first one that he didn't take.
The frustrating thing to me with Poole is that he can beat almost any guy that's guarding him off the dribble. And there'll be times when he'll get the ball with plenty of time on the shot clock and the ability to put it on the deck and get inside and make something happen. And he's like, he's very passive. And then he'll take a deep, low release 3 ball. And it's, what is he? JD, what's the number? What's his 3-point right now? 31%, something like that?
Yeah, he's low to mid 30s, which is not where you want to be.
Right. So you're not Steph Curry on that.
No.
So guess what? You get the ball with 8 seconds on the clock, and you've got a chance to put it on the deck and get into the lane. Do it. Or go to the lane. Go to the rim.
Can he get to the lane and possibly draw some fouls?
That's the key.
Because he needs to get into the lane. He needs to jump stop and let AD crash over him. They're going to have to call it.
He's got to live at the foul line.
Yes.
He's such a good foul shooter. To me, that's a big part of his value proposition to the team is what he can do at the foul line. And that's why, like, if you said, do you want Jordan Poole in the game, late in games, in big playoff games? Yes, I do. And I want him going to the foul line. I want him handling, and I want him going to the foul line because he's a 93% foul shooter. But I don't want him dribbling down and then hoisting a deep 3, 4 feet behind the line when he easily could have penetrated and just chose not to. I don't know.
They were down 3. They were down 3 at that point, right? Yes. Yeah, because LeBron hit the one free throw.
All right, guys. Good stuff tonight. JD, when are you on again tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm on tomorrow. Again, that usual 1:00 hour with Steiny and Guru. And then I'm back Thursday with the pregame at 5:00. And then I'm going to be in for Willard as well on Friday. So in between
afternoon drive.
Game 3.
Did you do the post game, JD?
Yeah, post game tonight.
What was like the mood or the vibe?
Optimism, believe it or not. That hey, the Warriors have some things that they can figure out. They didn't play a great game tonight, yet they were able to go on that run. I think the belief that are the Warriors, they may have had something with the small lineup. They didn't put Draymond Green on Anthony Davis a lot tonight. That's a move they can go to. I thought when they the last series, Curry got going because they took him off the ball. I think this series is the opposite. This series, they need to put the ball in his hands.
I think so.
With Vanderbilt on him and let him attack.
Yep.
And let him attack and create and get the whole offense into a rhythm, get himself into a rhythm. So I think I think the belief is from the fans overall that they're going to figure this thing out and that they can wear the Lakers down over the course of the series. This was the game where maybe the Warriors would be a little bit tireder and the Lakers with the extra couple of days would be fresh and that won't stand up. But, Steve Kerr does tend to wait until he waits until the last minute really to kind of go to the emergency cards, but they do tend to always get to them in time. And, in these playoff series. And I think, to me, it felt like tonight was it did feel like a total feel out game both ways. Like here, the Lakers
if the game meant more, he would have put Steph on the ball way earlier.
Yeah. And so it's like, you're trying to see how long you can get away with plan 1 before you go to plan 2. Cause you also don't want to give the opposition too much time to counter in a series and sort of readjust. I think there was that cat and mouse game with Mike Brown in the last series throughout where you didn't want to go to something so soon that Mike Brown had plenty of time to adjust to it for more than one game. And then you can readjust to it. I mean, it's liar's dice. I mean, it's
they need game 2 though, right? JD, they need game 2. They need
I mean, that's the thing. Like everybody's feeling good, but you better win game 2.
Because Steph historically does not shoot well at crypto.com arena.
True.
That is right. I forgot about that.
He
That is
just-
true.
He
Oddly.
just does not shoot well.
When
Now,
it's
right.
a
Clay-
Laker game. When it's a Laker game.
when it's a Laker game, exactly. Now
He doesn't
Clay,
like the lighting the Lakers have, but he likes the Clipper lighting.
I
Brighter. The Clipper
I
light
think
is brighter.
Yeah, maybe he just needs Billy Crystal to be nearby. Hey,
I think
JD,
Clay
we're,
shoots really well though. I think in that building.
JD, we'll let you go, brother. Have a great night. Thanks for doing overtime with us, and we'll look for you on 95.7 The Game. You do a great job, man. Thanks for giving us your insight.
Nice
Appreciate
seeing you,
it,
JD.
Thanks, fellas.
There you go, the great John Dickinson. I've got 33 starred chats. Do you guys want to hang for them?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do this. We got a couple. We'll play our spots right here. We'll come back with our starred chats, and we'll get out of Dodge. But first, a word from our sponsor. We'll get a pull of water. We'll be back here in 2 minutes with more on The Krug Show.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
Welcome back to the Krug Show. As we're coming down the home stretch, and it's time for our starred chats. And M. Patel says, Larry loves sausage sponsors. There you go. Or you could just say Larry loves sponsors. Sponsors
Exactly.
overall.
Or Larry loves
Yeah.
sausage.
Or Larry loves sausage.
Both, yeah.
There you go. Larry does love sausage. All right, here we go. Sausage. Sausage. All right, let's go to the starred chats. Golden State Warriors or Golden State 49ers. Cy's going to come on here and argue 2 points. Kerr did a horrible job and Kuminga needs to play. Laughing my effing ass off. Just wait, y'all. We got
I mean, look, all I can say is that it's impressive that you saw what I saw in terms of why the Warriors lost. So kudos.
He predicted it. Stephen J., The Krug Show, sponsored by Grizzly, Wintergreen. Yeah, did I ever tell you when I was doing an interview with Trey Greenlaw, and I'm like, "Hey, man, you got a couple minutes to talk with me?" He's like, "Yeah, man." And then right as we get the camera ready and we're getting ready to go live, he's like, "Is it cool? I got a little Grizzly in here." And I'm like, "It's cool, it's fine, man. Get a little Grizzly." He's like, "I got a little Grizzly." I'm like, go with your Grizzly. Go with your bad self. I'm not going to tell a guy not to dip.
No.
Exactly.
Mo G, you were right, Larry. Dubs should have picked up Nerlens Noel before the playoffs began.
I would have taken Serge Ibaka too, man.
There
But
you
that's
go.
me.
Both those guys are solid.
Eddie Dominguez. Warriors looked tired.
I didn't think so.
I'm tired. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I thought they played with more energy. I thought they would have played with less energy, to be honest,
Yeah.
because of the 7 games and the stress. But they looked pretty good in the fourth.
I'm barely making it through the live stream. It's 1 a.m. Mario Trutanic. Curry will play on the ball more next game than he played off the ball way too much today. They will play more small ball with Draymond at the 5. Watch for more handoffs when AD is in drop coverage.
I don't know if this is a controversial opinion or not, but the small ball thing comes from the fact that Kerr went to the small ball lineup in the fourth quarter and they cut a 10-point deficit down. Just because that sample size is not enough to convince me that going with the little people lineup is what's going to work. It worked at that moment over 4 quarters. I don't think that's the strategy to win. I don't know. That's me. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. But
Yeah, I mean,
AD
in and of itself, it's not the solution. It's not like, that's the secret sauce.
I just think Draymond needs to play better.
that too. Well, no, I didn't mean it. I was going to tell JD this. Like, Draymond was guarding Anthony Davis, but the refs took him out, man. He got in foul trouble, and we never got a chance to see that matchup. That is the matchup. Like, Draymond can cover Anthony Davis unless the referees decide, he can't. And that totally sucked tonight.
So I kind of feel, sometimes I kind of think of like a little conspiracy type situation. The NBA, this is obviously their favorite matchup. These two franchises, tons of eyeballs. If the Warriors come out and just smack the Lakers in game 1, I think they lose a lot of viewership.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, I mean, just look at the fouls. 29-6 free throws is fucking ridiculous.
Well,
for a home game.
6 free throw attempts.
And everyone just blames, the Warriors are just, jump shooting team. True.
It's about money.
It's about money. And they needed the Lakers to win this game to make it at least a 6 or 7 game series. And I think the eyeballs, like I said, if the Warriors would have come out and just smacked the shit out of the Lakers, people would have stopped. The Warriors are just going to smoke the Lakers. Let's, tune in.
Tune in next round.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Larry,
I
don't want to get you started on Tim Donaghy, but that's, the shit's real, right?
It's definitely real. And
he was not a rogue, isolated criminal, as David Stern would like you to believe. He was a rogue, isolated criminal that made 770 calls to a guy who officiates big-time NBA playoffs games like
Scott
right
Foster,
now.
yeah. And all of their phone calls were like less
No,
than,
but he was in Game 7.
Oh.
He was in Game 7.
Yeah, Scott. So Ed Malloy, I don't really think of Ed Malloy as like a Scott Foster kind of like that type of ref. But the other guy, Mark Jones? No, not Mark Jones. Mark Davis. Mark Davis is a terrible referee, and he was in there tonight.
Ed Malloy annoys me. I personally, whether or not he's a straight shooter,
I'm shocked that he didn't run Draymond, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always feel a bias against him, man.
I feel like Malloy's got the longest fuse of any of them.
Yeah.
He'll take all kinds of grief. Some of these other guys have egos. Hendricks' games are every other day now, so there's really no rest.
Which is great for the Warriors. And I know they're older team, but AD and LeBron.
Oh, no, I know. It's an anti-LeBron thing, really. Mark Hope says, oh, my God, Michael Thompson versus the Celtics back in the 80s was fire. I will say this about Michael Thompson, a little unknown fact. Michael Thompson is addicted to watching the Hallmark Channel.
What?
Yes. I couldn't believe it. We had him on the show, and he's like, all those terrible Christmas specials that are cheeseball as hell.
He loves that shit.
He loves it. He loves the Hallmark Channel. I mean, I thought he was joking at first, and like, no, bro likes the Hallmark Channel.
He's a fan,
Carlos says Draymond will eventually lose his mind and get tossed in one of these games.
I hope not.
Let's hope not.
Nate Dogg, the Kings fan in Woodland, says crazy that Pelinka was able to trade for Vanderbilt. Someone's got to slap that Minnesota GM. Yeah, seriously.
Didn't he come
How
from
about the Rui Hachimura trade? That was a thievery. Carlo P just says Trey Lance, QB1. It wouldn't be a live stream without a Lance reference.
Yes.
You say Trey Area. Oh, or two. Kyle McKiernan, Larry, back on the beam. The beam is yesterday. Don't say that word again unless you're drinking. You are drinking.
on the sauce.
in something. All right. Carlo, Schroeder, a smart, annoying player. It is Schroeder.
Yeah, Dennis Schroeder.
Schroeder. Somebody was saying Schroeder before. Tim
German.
Donaghy's crew. German umlaut, Larry. It's the German umlaut. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody need to point it out, the umlaut. Riddy Musich. Riddy! He says Otto Porter Jr. would have been nice to keep around right about now.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be playing though. He got hurt. He missed the whole year. It's just one of those things.
95.7 Brian, maybe our smartest texter. Speaking of Dennis Schroeder, why can't Jordan Poole get to the line like Schroeder? He's as fast like Schroeder with the ball, and he's a better shooter. Schroeder's a good shooter. Say that 5 times. Poole needs to get to the line in game 2. 95.7 Brian, I agree with you.
He's now Warriors Talk, Brian. He is actually like a reporter for Warriors Talk.
Really?
So, sorry.
Warriors Talk, Brian. What's Warriors Talk?
It's a website that apparently I didn't know much about it until Brian told me, but apparently it's been around for a long time. And it's a really popular like Warriors website. It's and he's writing for him now. I think it's like
Warrior.
a big gig.
And Brian, throw that in your title from now on. You're not Brian Iglesia. You're Warriors Talk.
If
Brian
it's Warriors
Iglesia.
Talk, don't quote me on that. I'm trying to find which one it actually is, but yeah, he's
until clarification comes. He's
it is Warriors Talk.
95.7.
It is now clarified. Although
Nice.
I just got my spam blocker, my virus checker just.
I heard a little dinging there. Thought maybe that was Bubba in the background. Jesse Brown says, "Will someone on the Warriors please use the 8 to 17 foot range?"
Little mid-range jumpers.
Seriously, Klay Thompson, that's you, baby. Grilled cheese. I'm shocked at how this panel doesn't understand what they just watched. The Warriors are completely outmatched at every facet of the game and position group on the floor, badly out-coached as well. I'm shocked that a man who calls himself Grilled Cheese is watching a podcast with such uninformed people.
You know what? Grilled cheese. You're right. You're right. Grilled cheese. I'm wrong about everything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Actually, my buddy the other day, Ham and Cheese, said that you're wrong, Grilled Cheese. He said you don't. He said you lack ham. Amar Singh says this series is already over. The Lakers have more depth, more size, more defense. Only chance Warriors have is in transition.
Who's got the best player on the floor? Or it's Steph Curry. So
Amar, I think
Not
you'll be
over.
singing a different tune after your
not
next
over.
game. Did you see my play on words? Amar singing. I'll be here all week. Brian Iglesia, the main concern with Jonathan Kuminga is his ability to play perimeter defense and rebound the basketball. If he can do those things, he'll be rewarded on the offensive end with dunks and more playing time.
What I did get a chance to say, Cy,
Yeah.
when you were talking about JK is, so if it's true, if that story's true, that Poole and Kuminga are, whatever, like Steph was calling them out. What you were talking about was based on his play on the court, but we have no idea. The only one who might have an idea is JD because he's around the team. He might be doing something attitude-wise around the team. He might be, who knows? He might be talking shit behind people's back. We just don't know.
So I have just as many sources and connections as JD. I don't mean to be. I'm not trying to sound arrogant or
whatever,
anything
cool.
like that. Because I usually at least the first half of the year I was at the arena, and then I got this dog who has like separation anxiety, and I started to realize like it just isn't necessary for me to go all the games. No, I'm not saying JD isn't connected, but what I'm saying is I actually know Kuminga. Like for example, if I told you who he was dating at the beginning of the year, people's minds would be blown. He's not a bad dude, man. He's actually like he's not the type of guy that starts fights. He doesn't raise his voice. Like he's a very calm, almost introverted type of guy.
What I can tell. I think you're right. He is only 20, right?
So he doesn't have like a flair for dramatics, man. So like if like the pouting that I'm hearing, that's why it's like when I hear he's pouting, I'm like, that's maybe like he's just inside his own head, like pissed off.
Or maybe it's just
Poole.
Poole. Maybe it's just Poole pouting.
Or maybe it's both. But like Steph maybe just knows him well enough to know that he's not happy, right? And maybe he's like calling him out for that. Because there's also this weird clip after Game 6. Because everyone saw the Poole thing where Poole like took Draymond's arm and was like, "Get off me! I don't want this," and he did that to Klay too. But there was also, and then Steph talked to him. There was also another point in the game, or maybe it was after the game. I don't know when it was, when Steph had a long conversation with Kuminga. And who knows what that was about. But it was like right on the court in front of the whole stadium and everyone. And they were just talking like a long time. And it was Steph mostly doing the talking. I mean, clearly Kuminga's not happy. I think that's we can safely deduce that.
Actually, my sources tell me that Kuminga was trying to make a souffle, and he was asking, "Do I go egg whites or egg yolks?" Steph was like, "Hey, you could go yolks, but you want to go egg whites. It's better for you." Kuminga's like, "Do I want it to be better for me?" Anyway, it goes into greater depth. I'm going to do a blog on it later.
Right. Well, but just real quick, Larry and
yes.
Sean, maybe you'll find this interesting. So there was, for example, there was a lot of it too is about how you interpret things, right? So the media, like, and I think it was the Athletic guys a few days ago after Game 6 did this report that said that Steph and Clay and Dre were just sitting in the locker room quiet, right? Like after the game and just weren't talking to anyone. I don't know if you read that or heard that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, that's interesting, right? Like they're just like,
they made it seem like everyone had left and it was just the three of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then when I talked to my insider about it, I was like, that's crazy. He was like, dude, they were just sitting there, just like on their phones. Like it was like there was nothing abnormal about what they were doing. They weren't depressed. They were like sitting there thinking hard. It was just one of those like open interpretation type things, and where he felt they totally over dramatized, if that's what that event. So a lot of it's about interpretation, man. You know,
my sources say that they were sitting quietly and texting each other. But I don't have a second source.
Here's the deal, Cy. I bet on games. Larry knows. I bet heavily.
So you know the game.
Yeah. Tonight I bet Lakers plus 4.5.
Bravo.
Did
you call Donaghy before tip?
I didn't call Ed Malloy. But if I had to bet on it, your boy's playing in game 2.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so.
I would bet on it. If it was. If I could bet on, I would bet on him playing.
So are you a bookie guy? Like, do you have a bookie? Like, how do you?
No, I bet on offshore.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Woodpit 420 says LA looks so gassed in the fourth. They did. They absolutely did.
Larry, how are you betting these days, man? Are you on a website? Do you still go old school bookie? Like, what's your? How are you rolling?
I'm not betting right now. I'm waiting till football season gets rolling.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty much not betting. I'm just piling up views on my channel, making lots of money. Kyle McKiernan says, this is taking over radio. YouTube, it's just better. I just wish I could close my damn phone out and listen like a normal radio app.
Oh, you have to have YouTube Premium. If you have YouTube Premium, then you can shut your phone off and you can just listen to it.
You're right about that, though, Kyle. This is taking over radio.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah. Check the ratings. Check the Q, baby.
YouTube Premium is probably like the best $11.99 I spend a month.
Oh, good to know. Okay.
Because every single video, I go down the rabbit hole a lot and I watch videos about all kinds of shit, and there's no commercials at all, ever.
That's awesome too.
It's worth it.
I love watching YouTube too. I'll tell you what I was watching the other day that I stumbled on a guy who basically took all three. This is like the Larry Krueger dream video. He took all three broadcasts of the NFL draft and took every pick the Niners had and took what they said and like when it was announced for all three broadcasts for every pick they made. So I could like basically watch it with all the different commentators and it was freaking amazing.
What's the final verdict on the Niners draft? I've not followed any of that, and I love the Niners. I follow them, but
they got an awesome safety who's kind of like an Earl Thomas, Jair Brown. I think Jair Brown kind of reminds me of Earl Thomas. They took a kicker in the third round. They didn't have a first. That was a third round pick, but he was like the equivalent of a second round pick. But he went in the third. Penn State safety.
Wait, hold on. So their first draft pick was the kicker?
No, their first draft pick was Jair Brown, the safety.
Okay, the kicker was second?
Second.
Okay.
The kicker thing, I don't have a problem with the kicker either because it was you're talking about really a fourth round pick, and it's even though it's a compensatory third, it was pick 100 or whatever.
Gotcha.
And isn't he awesome?
What's that?
For kickers, isn't he awesome?
Well, his nickname's Money.
That's
good. I'll say this too, the 49ers are used to Niner fans are spoiled. Robbie Gould never missed in the playoffs. You know what I like about this kid? He never missed in the playoffs.
Oh, there you
either.
go. Okay.
I saw
So
a clip.
he's a
I
gamer.
saw a clip of him kicking like a fucking 57-yarder or something.
Yeah, and he's done it in the Big Ten in cold weather. Harbaugh says he's the best kicker in Michigan history. I'm fine with it.
Nice.
Kyle
yeah.
McCurran. We just had that one.
Let's
Yeah,
read
but
that
you might as
part.
well-
That first part again, though. It's taken over radio.
You might as well just read it again. Yeah, I mean, it's,
Just
you know,
better.
Yeah, Kyle McCurran says the Krug show is taking over radio. It's just better.
It's better.
I just wish I could close my damn phone out and listen to the Krug show instead of radio, like a normal radio app.
The Krug show. It's just better.
It's just better. It's just better. Maybe that'll be my new ad campaign. It's just better. Mark Hope says, sorry, Larry, I wish I could send $2,000 every show.
Like you could do a lot worse than that tagline. Actually,
true.
it's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
The Krug
kidding
show.
me?
It's just better.
It's just better. It's just better. It's much better.
That's your next shirt.
MF, the word Kapler makes me feel queasy.
Mhm.
They did win today. Go DeSclafani. MF says, Tony DeSclafani was dealing tonight. I love MF. He just doesn't give up on the Giants no matter what.
Nice.
Mitchell and Ness, holy shit, Giants won. That was worth saving. Brian Iglesia, the minute totals seem to be taking a toll on the core guys. Curry specifically, and I'm not sure playing him 38 to 40 minutes a night will result in success later in the series. I think that's a very astute point. It's one of the reasons I like Denver to go to the finals.
Mm-hmm. Denver.
I think it's going to take her. I think it's going to take 40 minutes to win all these games to get to the Western Conference Finals, and when they get there, Curry's going to be out of gas.
I wanted to ask JD this, and I'm curious what you guys think. Like, if the Warriors make it to the Western Conference Finals but lose to Denver, which is a very real possibility, because I'm with you guys, man. Denver's fucking good. What do the Warriors do, man? Like, do they run it back and improve the bench? I mean, what do you see happening?
I think it depends on what Draymond does.
I hope
Draymond opts out.
Draymond's got to
Go to LA.
stay. They got to keep Draymond. They got to keep.
He wants to
Draymond.
go play with LeBron.
He wants money.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, I can't even address that.
I don't know if they're going to spend, though.
Tammy McDaniel, Cyrus's takes are fire.
Dude, Tammy, I read all your posts, man. Thank you. You're a sweetheart. Thank you so much.
Tammy is really into Cy.
And if you show me a picture, I'll let you know if I'm into you. I mean, it's, you know,
Oh, look at that. It's 1:11 in the morning, but that ain't right.
She's feeling your flow.
Tammy McDaniel says Kerr is killing Kuminga's confidence.
Yes.
I agree with Cyrus, she said.
That's already done.
Yeah.
Stephen J. As a Celtics fan, Wiggins put Tatum in a jail cell in the finals last season. Dude needs to show up more constantly. I think he meant more consistently, but I hear you. Jenny Vega, love Jenny. She says tonight ended up being a close game. Steph was frustrated again with Poole, and he let that get to his head. Poole is the guy who we blame if the Warriors season ends.
No.
Not a Poole guy myself. Stephen J. Carl is very good, too. Krug Show has come a long way from Dan and Rye. Ooh.
Where was Rye tonight, by the way? Just MIA?
Rye sent me a note. He was going to come on, but then once the Warriors lost and he had a lot going on in his day, he said it's not good for him to get too angry.
It is a different vibe when they lose versus when they win, man. It's two different shows entirely.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I'm two different people.
I can fill in a little for Rye.
Here we go. Tammy professing more love. Cyrus is the only one that keeps it real. The rest of them, and that's me, Tammy, you're talking about, just go with what everyone else says, their opinions.
Thank you, Tammy.
Big fan.
Thank you. I'm a fan of you,
Tammy,
Big Cyrus fan.
do you really think I just go along with what everybody says, Tammy?
Well, I don't think she would be here every night, Larry, if she didn't think you as well, you know.
Tammy,
Tammy.
Tammy, don't make me block you. I'm just joking, Tammy. I wouldn't block you. You'd have to say something mean about me. But that was really close. Watch it, Tammy. Ashley says they needed Poole to step up, so it's not just all on Curry. Clay needs to be better. Poole needs to be not be stupid, but tonight was better than any game he's had so far this postseason.
Ashley's OG.
Gotta love Ashley.
She's been around since day one.
Ashley will send me notes throughout the week telling me what's going on in the world. All right, we got a few. God, just since I started reading those, we have like 250 chats, but we're not gonna. I can't get to all those.
Wow.
And I got a question for you,
Hendricks.
Larry.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Totally separate.
I don't take questions. No,
I sent
go
you a
ahead.
message at the end of the Niners season.
Don't
I
look at
sent
my
you a
eyes. Don't look at my face when you talk to me. Don't look at my eyes.
I sent you a text. I need you to do me a favor.
I don't do favors. No,
And
go
maybe
ahead.
maybe someone in the chat knows this. But if you go back and look at our texts,
Do you want me to outright for cheating in fantasy? Because I'll do it on the show if you'd like.
I've
heard this story.
had a jacket on one of
Wait, who?
the days. in a
Bonte
row.
had a jacket on.
It was a Niners like puffy.
Yeah, I saw it. He wore it to Philly for the
Okay,
Niner
where,
game in
where
Philly.
do I get that? I need to know where he got it. I need to know if anyone in the chat knows where I can get that. It looked like
It looked retro.
it looked like a retro puffy.
So
Yeah,
too
I'll
puffy
ask
for
him.
a starter, like so not a starter type
No,
jacket.
it
is
wasn't
bigger.
starter.
Okay.
I'll go back
But
and
it-
find the photo.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what jacket you're talking about. I've seen him wear it. It's definitely a
ask him where he got
retro Niner look.
It looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, Bonte's got a bunch of cool stuff like that.
Can you do?
He's
me
got a
favor and
bunch of
ask
the
him where he got
retro
it?
stuff. He's got some
Tweet at
retro
him, man.
Giant stuff too.
He's
Yeah,
usually
tweet
good
at him.
that.
He would, because he would love.
I
He
did.
would love to tell people
Oh,
about
you-
it. I'm
No,
sure
I did. I tweeted at him and it didn't do anything. And
he didn't do it. He didn't.
Yeah,
I'll find
so I
out.
thought
I'll ask.
You're my
I'll
best
ask.
bet.
I'll ask Willard or Dibbs or Guru or one of the guys to JD. Next time we have JD on, I'll ask him to.
Yeah, I need to know where you got that jacket. It's awesome.
Amar Singh says the Lakers defense is too good. Okay.
I bet someone in the chat knows where it came from.
Oh, G Martinez wrote chalk line. Andrew Martinez said had the same one as from 94. Wow.
So it really is vintage?
That's what he's saying. Where she
It looks
Andrew-
vintage.
You're Sean's last hope, Larry. from Eddie K's.
Tammy McDaniel trying to get a little closer to Cy.
Bubba.
What's your dog's name, Cyrus?
Bubba, aka Bubs, aka Bubba Ganoush, Bubba Booey, Bubba. Just Bubba.
Okay. All right.
Passed out
Andrew
right now.
Martinez. They didn't make puffies in 94.
We got this one. Kyle McKiernan. Larry, your subs have blown up over the last 4 days. Subscribe. It's the best channel. This will get posted because I didn't crap on Larry, but it's facts. That's awesome. He's now doing my material back to me. You know, it's like he's telling my jokes back to me. Ah, Kyle, I love you, brother. Thank you. Mark Hope getting very edgy here at 1 a.m.
Oh.
Poole not laying sausage. Not laying sausage. Not sure what that means, but it was
I don't know.
worth
It
reading.
doesn't sound good though, but
Okay, that one no, that one no. No.
I got to.
Oh, here we go. Kevin F. YouTube Premium is worth it. How much is it?
Yeah, it's the greatest.
12
How
a
much
month,
is it?
right?
It's $11.99 a month, and there's zero
What's so
commercials.
great about it again? Tell me what.
So when you
tell me
click on a video, like just a random video, normally there's like a 30-second commercial, basically, right?
It's $22 family plan.
Okay, I don't know about that. It's just me. No one else would watch YouTube in my family. But yeah, so $11.99. So when you click on a video, there's no commercials. It just goes right into the video. And then sometimes if you're watching a long video, they'll have commercials in the middle of the videos. It'll just like you'll be watching, all of a sudden it'll stop and
Annoying.
go to some
Yeah, it's
bullshit
annoying.
commercial that you don't care about. $11.99 gets rid of all that.
And I call it annoying as I realize my own show does that. Sorry.
I don't
but,
even
yeah,
mind the
I have no
commercials on
control.
YouTube. I
But
watch them.
But you get money.
I-
You monetize your videos, so that's
Well, it's Locked On. I mean, Locked On runs everything.
But he's talking to me, right? You're talking to me or talking to him?
No,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
talking to Cy. Like he was
Oh.
just saying that your videos do that, which is how you make money when you're a creator. I totally get it.
Correct. Well,
But
we have
when I
live
pay
sponsors.
$11.99 a month, a portion of that goes to the videos I watch. I just
Yeah,
don't have to watch
we
the
have
commercial.
live sponsors too, but I think we make some money from that as well. Yeah.
Hendrick says, "Will Joey Fisher make the Niners roster?" Yeah, I think he will. He's a brawler. I don't know if he's a right tackle, but he's a tough kid.
Is YouTube Live any good?
I don't know.
YouTube Live.
Because I get my cable is Hulu Live, right? I'm unplugged, so I just get everything.
Oh, you're talking about YouTube TV.
Is that what it's called? It's called YouTube. Is that good? Is that worth it?
So I have YouTube TV. I used to have Direct TV.
Well, it's gonna. You know what? It's gonna take off. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's gonna take
Sunday
off because
Ticket
they've
now.
got the end. They've got the NFL Sunday Ticket now.
Yeah. So Direct TV lost it
cool.
after I think 16 years.
Yeah.
And YouTube, Google basically ponied up the billions.
Dude, I'm telling you, YouTube's going to, a year from now, there's going to be way more people on YouTube than there are right now.
Here's a huge problem. This is a big problem if you bet on games. So for everything else, it's great, right? Like the basic channels, you got everything. It's quick. Their app is phenomenal because it's a tech company. So, but when you're watching sports, there's a serious delay. So if you're trying to bet live, it's a problem. Like tonight, I was watching it and I was on my sports betting app and it has the live, like the actual live score.
I experienced that too, man. I do
So
experience that
I'm
too.
watching it and it was like a minute and a half. I was at 4 minutes left in the fourth and I looked at my phone and it was like 2 minutes and 13 seconds and I could see what the score was. So
no, that happens to me too with Hulu. Like I'll look at the box score of a live game, and with these Warriors games, I'll look at the score. I'm like, fuck, it's like 4 more points added on to what I'm watching, and I'm with you. Yeah. So for live gambling, it sucks, right? You can't do it really. Like
it totally sucks with the streaming service. What's really weird is it was updated. So I went to Game 6. It was awful.
Ooh.
But I was looking at the live sports betting thing to see like how quickly it was updating, and it was like almost immediate after the baskets. So do they have someone in every single arena? It just makes no sense to me.
It's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
James
know
says 1 a.m. and Larry Krueger is still going. He's putting in the work.
It's late, man. It's 1:20.
Tammy McDaniel. I like Cyrus's takes.
I like you, Tammy. Thank you. That's very sweet of you.
Look at that.
Shantae Ortega knows what's up.
Shantae Ortega. I love the Krug show.
Yep.
There you go. Here we go. Here we go. Tammy, more lovin'. I like how Cyrus stands up to JD. Cyrus ain't no pushover, Tammy.
Different opinions, you know.
Cyrus is a man, and he has needs. Tammy McDaniel, not you, Larry.
No, that was in reference to when you were joking around.
Watch it.
Like, she was actually complimenting you. I remember exactly what that's in reference to. She was because he was saying because you were saying what about me, Tammy?
I got you.
Like that, yeah.
Tammy McDaniel, Larry, I love the show. I didn't mean your take. Oh, I'm just joking, Tammy. We're having a good time. We're having a good time with you. All right. Here we go. Eddie K, you're Sean's last hope, Larry.
You gotta hook me up.
I'll get it for you. I'll get it for you. I'll come through. Kyle McKiernan, your subs went up in this video. It's awesome. No Grant Napier wrap-up show? It's tomorrow morning. It's tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I may just keep this live stream going right into it.
Oh, my God. You're doing a show at 9 tomorrow?
9 a.m.?
9 a.m. 9 a.m. tomorrow.
I can't do mornings, man.
I'll be up at 6.
I'm doing a show tomorrow at 9 a.m. with Grant Napier, at 10 a.m. with Matt Barrows, and at noon with this kid, Alex Barber, recapping the NFL draft. I'm hustling tomorrow.
Respect.
I'm hustling. And my wife's out of town for the whole week, taking my daughter to grad school.
Where's that?
Atlanta.
Party at Larry's house.
Emory. Come on over, dude. We're tapping the keg.
Yeah.
Those are good days back in the day, man.
Get a pony keg at least. I mean, right? So they still make those ponies?
I don't know if we'd go pony keg, but do you guys remember the Coors Light party ball?
No.
Yes, I do actually. Yes, I do.
That means Sean, you're too young. How old are you, Sean?
42.
Oh, yeah.
See, I'm 53.
25, so
when I was in college, they came up with the Coors Light party ball, and it basically was like.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah, well, it was just a gigantic. It was almost the size of maybe a gigantic basketball, but it was a keg, and it had its own tap. And
I'm googling.
You could buy it. Yeah, the Coors Light party ball.
I remember those things. A few beer companies made stuff like that. Like,
oh my God, it was incredible. There was a guy in my dorm that had his entire room was made up of, used Coors Light party balls. He kept them.
Used ones, like collecting them. It's like trophies.
Yeah. Shantae Ortega. Did I ever tell you that I went into a guy's house who was a hoarder once? And I walked. He goes, I'm looking at his window because I was helping him change his window, and he goes, "Oh, don't go in there." And I'm like, "All right, what's in there?" Now I want to know what's in there. I go, "What's in there?" Yeah. And he goes, "Well, I've got a lot. It's messy in there." I'm like, "Well, bro, I went to Sac State. I was in a fraternity. I've seen messy I'm sorry. You're not. If it's just unless there's a dead body in there, I think I need to go in there
Full blown
to measure. He was a full blown hoarder. Guess what he had in his room? Literally from the ground to the ceiling of a room that had like 10-foot ceilings.
Trash.
Nothing but
Trash.
used Diet Pepsi 2-liter bottles.
It's a lot of money.
The entire room.
Why?
I'm
What's
like,
it's a
he was a hoarder.
It's a disease.
And here's the thing with it. They're always the people that have this problem. The funny thing is they oftentimes want to change their windows because they obsess on the opening to the window and not this massive amount of garbage in the room. He's like, yeah, we need new windows. I'm like, the windows look pretty good. No, I need new windows. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I go, by the way, my guy is not going to install these windows if you don't get rid of all these
because all these bottles are going to fucking fall out.
Diet Pepsi bottles. He's like, no, I'll get them out. I've been meaning to get them out. And I just looked at the guy. I'm like, I don't care if you've been meaning to get them out or not. My guy won't walk in here and install these windows unless all these bottles are out of here. And the guy gave me a look, and he's like, it was like I was speaking to him on a different level. He's like, I will get rid of the bottles.
Is it like an OCD disease where like they feel like bad things are going to happen if they throw them away, or like
there's people that hoard. I mean, I'll give you another one. There's another guy's house that I went into, and he had a room that was also full of stuff. But guess what it was full of? Newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude. If your light bulb breaks and it casts one spark,
oh my God, you're right.
You have a room full of newspaper. Your house is going to go up in flames in like 5 seconds, and it's going to probably burn your neighbor's house down. And I'm like, get rid of all this newspaper, bro.
Oh my God.
And he's like, oh, dude, I've been meaning to.
They can't.
And I'm like, do you want me to do it for you? I'll do it for you.
They can't part with it.
They can't part with it. Like what?
Yeah. So they feel like they need.
I don't know.
They feel like they need something. So I used to have a moving company back in the day with my mom, and we would relocate seniors. And so we dealt with a couple hoarders, floor to ceiling, wall to wall trash, and like one lady, she had a shopping problem. So she would go on like Home Shopping Network, and she would see a sweater she liked, and she was like, I don't just need the blue one, I need it in every fucking color that they make.
Right.
And so then her bedroom, she couldn't even go to sleep in her bedroom. She slept in a chair out in the living room because her entire bedroom was full of product with tags on it. And then
that's crazy.
Yeah. And so they'll eat like you'll eat margarine or butter, like a tub. And then when they're done, they're like, I could probably use this for something down the road. I shouldn't throw this away. And so then they just like put it over in the corner, and then it just compiles.
Oh my God.
It's sad. It's a disease.
It is. It's a disease. And you know, I always had to be kind of direct and just be like, dude, do you want these windows? If you do, then you'll get rid of this garbage. There will be no negotiation on this. You know, I used to say to the guy, the day that we're going to install this window, you're going to send me a picture that morning of the room, because I'm not having my guy drive out here and then have 7 million Diet Pepsi 2 liters.
Did he clean it up?
Yeah, he cleaned it up.
He wanted this
Cleaned it up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I literally had to almost talk down to this guy and just be like, dude, you're doing this, or we're not doing this. It's like, okay, I'll do it. All right, that's going to do it for us. 3 hours, 23 minutes, and 20 seconds. It is 1:27 in the morning. I'm back at this at 9 a.m., so I'm going to get out of here. You guys, I would say final thought, but fuck your final thought.
Yeah, and fuck you.
It's too damn late. But
Yeah,
good
I'm
seeing you. Sean,
Yes.
you're the man. We'll talk to you. Hey, Thursday night. You up for a little post-game Thursday night?
Always.
Nice.
We'll see you Thursday night, brother.
I'm in.
Nice.
Peace.
Nice meeting you, Sean.
Have a good
Nice meeting
night.
you, Cy. See you.
See you. The great Sean Proctor.
Yeah.
Great guy. Great
Good
guy.
people.
And
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
I love Proctor. You know what I love about Proctor
What?
is his vibe is very chill, but he's engaged, but he's very chill.
Agreed. I like him.
You know what I mean? And
Immediately
that's a very cool. In fact, Shantae Ortega says Proctor is legit.
How do you know him? He's just someone who was just listening to your show and you brought him on?
I don't know. Sean, how do we know you?
Oh, I dominated your fantasy league until I lost in the final.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
No, I joined the Krug show on day one.
There you go.
I've been a fan of Larry's forever.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, Larry is a legend. So
he is.
As soon as he started the YouTube channel, I was like, well, fucking obviously I'm in. And
one of the original OGs of the channel.
Yeah, and then I just jumped on for Niners talk, and I love Bay Area sports.
There you go. All right, brother.
I'm not in the business, but I love it.
We're in the Bay Area. Are you? What part?
I live in San Jose. I'm a real estate
broker.
All
right. So
he's a real estate agent. If you need a real estate agent, if you notice, I don't do ads on the channel right now for real estate agents. So I'm promoting Proctor.
Yeah.
So if
anyone needs help buying or selling residential real estate, I'm your guy.
Yeah. I met you a month ago, man. I'm literally selling my Reno home right now so I could buy a place around here. This is a good time, man. It's rare to be in a buyer's market, right? And this is a buyer's market right now. Is it correct?
It's tough. The rates are causing a problem.
Yeah.
The rates make it really tough, but the rates aren't going down anytime soon. So it's kind of like last year it was just dead. It was just completely dead. The Feds just kept raising the rates. They jumped from right around 3 to right around 6 overnight.
Right.
And everything fell off a cliff. The buyer's like, well, shit, I can't afford a house anymore. And then the seller's like, well, I can't go buy something somewhere else. So I guess I'll just stay. And then slowly over the next 6 or 7 months, buyers kind of realize, well, the rates aren't coming down. I still need a house.
Right.
So
right.
I probably,
right.
I still need to buy something. I still need to move. So I just can't get something as nice as I was going to be able to get something last year. So, but it's still fine.
We sold my parents' house in the city when they died 2 years ago. And the realtor at the time was like, hey, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I think the market's going to change. The rates are going to go up. Things are going to stagnate. It's not going to be quite the same. There may be a lull. Of course, it's a house in the city, and it was a good sized house and well taken care of. So there was going to be a market for it. But he's like, hey, the market very much could flatten in the next year. And so we took his advice and we sold it. And damn straight, he was absolutely right. The market has flattened.
From my experience, man, when the economy gets to this point where you can actually negotiate for a home where you're not competing with 10, 20, 30 other people, and prices are, they're never going to go down to what they were, but they're, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm not going to see these prices and this climate anytime soon. The fact we're in this right now,
from the peak, it's obviously neighborhood driven, but from the peak, it's gone down around 20%. So you're getting a 20% discount basically.
I have a chance to buy a California home, so I'm doing it, man.
Where are you buying?
West Sonoma County. So I'm in Guerneville, around there.
Guerneville has a really good ice cream shop in that vault.
Russian River. That's Russian River, right?
River, yeah.
Do you know the place I'm talking about? It's an
old
bank.
I have no idea. No.
Okay,
it's in a bank.
The main drag. What?
It's in a bank. You said?
Yeah. So the main drag in Guerneville. I'll look it up if you want me to, but there's an ice cream shop and it's really well known. And so I went there with my wife years ago, and it's literally in an old bank. And so they have the vault open and you can go in and get stuff in the vault. They have little whatever, but ice cream shop in the vault. It's amazing. You got to go check it out.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I'll check it out.
If you live in Guerneville, you're going to know about it.
I'll definitely check that out.
He's new to Guerneville. He's only been there a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Sean, we'll talk to you Thursday night, man.
Thursday night, I'm in. See you guys.
Peace, brother.
All right, brother.
There you go.
Good stuff.
Cy?
Look at
good
HR,
stuff, man.
Wow, we're leaving on such a positive note.
What's that?
I know Dick. I know penis, apparently. So thank you. Is that a compliment? I think it is.
I think he means Dick Cheney.
Or maybe Dick Cheney. There you go.
Yeah. Be careful when you go hunting. Eddie K says, Larry, you got to say to whoever leaves, get the fuck out of here. Remember? Yeah, seriously. That should be the way we fit. Get the fuck out of here.
Bye.
Later, brother. Later. Love you, brother. We'll talk to you Thursday night.
Thursday.
There you go. What can you say? Get the fuck out of here. All right, it is time for us to get up on out of here. Hope you enjoyed the live stream tonight. Warriors-Lakers goes to the Lakers. Game 1 of the second round of the NBA playoffs. Lakers up 1-0 Thursday night. Game 2. Join me in the morning, 9 a.m. Grant Napier is going to stop by. We'll talk about tonight's game. We'll also talk about Warriors-Kings. 10 a.m. Matt Barrows is in the house. We're breaking down the Niners, the NFL draft, what he thought of it, what they're going to do. Are they going to go get an edge rusher? Yannick Ngakoue, Leonard Floyd? Are they going to trade for Montez Sweat? They need an edge rusher, I think. So he'll be by. And then Alex Barber is going to stop by as well. Young kid who goes to school at SMU. Big NFL draft guy. He'll be by at noon tomorrow. My show with Wayne Breezy tomorrow on Breezy's channel will be postponed until next week. Breezy's got a gig. He's a musician. So, and by the way, if you're looking, this nitty-gritty Niners flag sent to us from Breezy. Thank you, Breezy. Thursday on the show, we're going to have a 49er on the show. So look for that Thursday morning. Jordan Elliott, Thursday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, is going to stop by. Friday, Eric Froton from NBC Sports will give us his thoughts on the draft. And the great Vish Kumaran will be reunited with Vish, and we'll chop it up with Vish. Good stuff. Thanks to all of you. Remember, hit like and subscribe. Like just helps more people find the channel. Subscribe just gives you an alert every time we go live. Let me just tell you where we are sitting as we speak. We just crested the 17,000 sub plateau, and I've yet to even put out an email because I put out a tweet every time we get to 1,000 subs, thanking our sponsors, thanking all of you. And I was going to do that yesterday, but I didn't have time. I was going to do it today, but didn't have time. We're now at 17,258 subs, and we were at 17,000 yesterday. So we've picked up 258 subs in the last day. So the channel is growing by leaps and bounds. Thank you very much to New York Style Italian Sausage. Thank you very much to Pig and a Pickle. Thank you very much to Telmetrics. And maybe most importantly, thanks to all of you, because you guys have made this channel what it is, and I appreciate every single one of you. Having a lot of fun. I do think this is a better medium than the radio for a lot of reasons. It's more personal, and not that I don't love being on the radio over at 95.7 The Game, because I do, Matt Nahagi and all the good people there. But this is a great platform, and we're really enjoying ourselves. So go to The Krug Show on YouTube. Check out all my videos. I've got more coming out tomorrow. A lot of good stuff there. Thanks to my son, who's helping me behind the scenes. Thanks to the great Len Dempsey, who is one of our partners in this venture. And thanks to all of you. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. Shante Ortega says the New York-style sausage company raviolis are the bomb. I like that. We got this one from G2 The Universe. I'm a proud member, Lair. Appreciate you. Mark Hope says, shout out to Kevin Krueger. Absolutely. The kid's a great kid for sure, doing a phenomenal job. He's one of the only people I allow to yell at me and talk down. Oh, that's not true. Anyway, that's going to do it for us. I'm getting a little punchy. It's 1:37 in the morning. Peace. Go Warriors. Get game 2. See you Thursday night. See you in the morning. Talking football and basketball with Grant Napier, Matt Barrows, Alex Barber. Catch me tomorrow on The Krug Show.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, get in.